Good morning. Good morning. Am I visible and audible? Dhwani, good morning. Am I visible and audible? Dhwani? Good. I'll wait for 1 minute. Let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Good morning, Saranya. Good morning, Kavi, Divyani. Am I visible and audible? Once again, good morning, all of you. Thank you. Dipankar, Sandhu, Ganesh, Kavi, Saranya, Dhwani. Okay, yesterday I finished with the Indus civilization and we began with the Vedic period. I gave you an overview of this topic as such. It is called Vedic period because the main source of information is the Vedic literature. We hardly have any archaeological sources for the reconstruction of the history of this period. We rely entirely on Vedic literature, and hence this period is called Vedic period. Now, the Aryans are supposed to be the authors of the Vedas. They were the ones who composed the Vedas, the Aryans. And there was no unanimity among scholars initially as regards where the Aryans came from. Some scholars believed that the Aryans came from outside India, like Germany, Austria, Hungary, Central Asia, etc., while other scholars believed that they were locals, they were indigenous to this country. But generally, most of the historians agree to the opinion given by Max Muller, a German Indologist, who said that the Aryans came from Central Asia. So they were living in this huge area called Eurasia, that is southern Russia to Central Asia. And the population of the Aryans had increased, the population of their cattle had increased. So basically, they were pastoralists. Animal husbandry was their main occupation. So the population of their cattle had increased, and there was a rapid depletion of the grasslands in that area because around 2000 BC, there was a global change in the weather. And therefore, the Aryans began to migrate to different parts of the earth. One branch of the Aryans, along with their cattle, went up to Ireland and Europe. Another branch, it is said, that went towards West Asia. And another branch of the Aryans came towards India. While coming towards India, they stopped over in Iran for some time. And from Iran, they entered Afghanistan and then entered India. So when they entered India, they saw a huge river, which they called as Sindhu. Yesterday, I told you how the name India has come about. So they called it as Sindhu. And only one book gives information about the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans. That is the Rig Veda. Hence, the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans is called as the Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period. So, as you can see here, it is also called as the early Vedic period or the Rig Vedic period, first 500 years. So yesterday we discussed about the information the Rig Veda gives about the early life of the Aryans who were living in the so-called Sapta Sindhu region. So this theory was given by Max Muller. He said that the Aryans in India composed Sanskrit, while the Aryans who went to other parts of Europe composed all the other European languages. But they originated from one country, one area, that is Central Asia, where they spoke a mother language. So that mother language was called Indo-European by William Jones. Max Muller called that mother language as Aryan, and Penka gave a racial connotation to the word Aryan, stating that people who speak these languages speak languages like English, Sanskrit, Persian, Latin, German, etc., look similar. They're tall, they have a radiant complexion, they have a blonde hair, sharp features, aquiline features, etc. But the word Aryan only refers to language and people who speak a group of languages. It has no racial connotation. So we looked at these aspects yesterday. Then I came to the Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period, the geographical knowledge of the Rig Vedic Aryans. Um, I'm recapping whatever I did yesterday in brief. So when the Aryans came, they saw a huge river, which they called it as Sindhu, and they began to live between the Satluj in the west, which they called as Satudri, and Yamuna in the east. So this area, uh, the Aryans lived for the first 500 years, what is known as the Sapta Sindhu region. That is the land of seven rivers. So Max Muller says these seven rivers are the Sindhu, the five eastern tributaries of the Sindhu like Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and Satluj, and Saraswati. These constitute what is known as the Sapta Sindhu system. Now, we look at the geographical knowledge of Rigvedic Aryans. There's only one reference to Ganga. They knew about the Himalayas because some of the peaks of the Himalayas are mentioned in the Rig Veda. The word Samudra, there is a word called Samudra in the Rig Veda, but it only meant a confluence of rivers, a meeting point of two or more rivers, or a sangam of rivers. It had no connotation with the sea because the Aryans had not seen the sea, either the Indian Ocean or the Arabian Sea, or for that matter, the Bay of Bengal. There is no reference to any desert, which is there in Rajasthan. So that means to say that the Aryans had not gone towards that region. They were mostly confined to the Sapta Sindhu region, and there's only one reference to the word Ganga, right? So this was a geographical knowledge of the Rigvedic Aryans. Then we came to the polity, the political arrangement of the Rigvedic Aryans. So the Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. Every tribe was led by a leader who was elected, and he was called Rajan. So you have democratic elements in the tribal polity because the Rajan was elected by the members of the tribe. The main duty of the Rajan was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth. So he prayed to gods for praja, that is mainly sons, pashu and cattle, pashu and dhana. Pashu is cattle and dhana is wealth. So he prayed to gods for praja, pashu and dhana. Bureaucracy was very simple. Very few officials assisted the Rajan in running the affairs of the tribe. Family was the basis of the political organization called Kula or Griha, headed by the father, the Kulapati or the Grihapati. And then, of course, a group of Kulas would form a Gram headed by Gramani. A group of Gram will form a Vis under Vispati, and a group of Vis will form a Jana or a tribe under the Rajan. So we looked at that yesterday. And then we had four assemblies: Sabha, Samiti, Vidata, Gana, which curtailed the powers of the Rajan. The Rajan could not do whatever he wanted. These assemblies, like the Sabha, Samiti, Vidata, Gana, curtailed the powers of the Rajan, and women were given special representation in the Sabha and the Vidhata. Then we looked at the sources of income for the Rajan consisted of Bali, voluntary offering, and of course war booty. The Aryans fought amongst themselves, the two main Aryan tribes during this period, Bharatas and Purus. And The Aryans also fought against non-Aryans like Dasyus, Dasas, and Panis. So we have explained what is Dasyus, who are the Dasyus, Dasas, and Panis yesterday. And then the most important battle mentioned in the Rig Veda is the Dasaragnya, the battle of 10 kings, mentioned in book 7 or Mandala 7 of the Rig Veda. So in this book, we see that Sudas, the Rajan of the Bharata tribe, was able to defeat all the 10 kings led by Purukutsa of the Puru tribe. Right? So we have seen this. Then we came to society yesterday. I was about to finish society, then I ran out of time. So it was basically a patriarchal society. Father was the head of the house. All the important positions were held by the male members. Women did have an important place to play in the society, in the Rigvedic society. But then, since there were nomads going from one place to another place, wars were fought by the men. Important positions were held by the men. The Rajan was a male. He was elected by the members of the tribe. So we cannot say that the women's position was on par with the males, but it was a respectable position. So it was a patriarchal society, patrilineal society. That is, the descent was from the father's side, right? It was tribal and egalitarian. Egalitarian in the sense that everybody was equal in the tribe. There was no economic stratification. It was a class divided society wherein they were on the basis of professions. The society had been divided. We had the Brahmana. We had three Varnas basically. The Brahmana Varna, who was basically doing the duty of a priest or a teacher. The Rajanya, also called sometimes Kshatriya, who was doing the duty of a warrior. And Vish were commoners like peasants, artisans, etc. There's only one reference to the Shudra Varna. There's only one reference to the Shudra Varna, and the Shudra appears towards the end of the Rigvedic period. So we have a hymn or a shlok called Purusha Sukta hymn. In this Purusha Sukta hymn, we find this hymn or shloka in Mandala 10 of the Rigveda. Mandala 10 or book 10 of the Rigveda. What does it say? The Purusha Sukta hymn, for the first time, makes a reference to the Shudra Varna. It says that from the primeval man Brahma, so Brahma is supposed to be the first man or God, you can call him. So from the forehead of Brahma arose the Brahmana. So from his forehead arose the Brahmana Varna. From the shoulders of Brahman arose the Kshatriya or the Rajanya. From his thighs arose the Vaishya. And from the feet of Brahman arose the Shudra. So this is the first reference to the Shudra, which we find in the Purusha Sukta hymn in Mandala 10 of the Rig Veda. And even in the Mahabharata, as well as in Manusmriti, we have the same explanation as regards the origin of the four Varnas, right? So this is very interesting. So Shudra, the reference to Shudra, there's only one reference to the Shudra, that too towards the end of the Rigvedic period. So keep that in mind. Then you have inter-dining amongst the Varnas. So interdining amongst the Varnas, intermarriages amongst the Varnas. All the Varnas were considered to be equal. There was professional mobility. That is, anybody could choose the occupation of his choice in one lifetime. So one person could can do the duty of a Brahmana, then later the duty of a Kshatriya, or the duty of a Vish if necessary in one lifetime, because all occupations were considered to be equal. We have seen that. Then you have monogamy was the norm. That is, one man having one wife. That was the norm. But we also have examples of polygamy and polyandry. The minimum marriageable age for a girl was 16 years after maturity or puberty. But many girls preferred not to marry. They wanted to engage in lifelong studies. They are called Brahmavadinis. Brahmavadinis, that is, girls who preferred to study. We have so many references: Apala, Vishwavara, Gopa, etc. So these are women, Lopamudra. So these are some of the women who were lifelong students called Brahmavadinis. Slavery existed as regards corruption in society. Slavery existed, but I told you yesterday that slaves were treated in a humane manner. Okay, Manavetya Drishtikon. So Manavetya Drishtikon se they were treated. That is, in terms, it was not treated. The slaves were not treated like the way in ancient Greece or Romans used to treat the slaves in a very bad manner, in a very inhuman manner. So slaves were given boarding and lodging facilities, food and accommodation facilities, and they were mostly used in um, domestic work. The women were there doing domestic work, and the men could have engaged in productive work like agriculture, but then they were treated humanely. So slavery existed, but slaves were treated in a humane manner. And of course, we have an institution called levirate. An institution called levirate existed during this period. What is this levirate? It is called niyoga. It is called niyoga. Yeah, good morning, all of you. So this is called niyoga. What is niyoga? Here, niyoga meant a issueless widow could cohabit. I'll use another page. So niyoga or levirate in English. Now, what is niyoga? An issueless widow could cohabit with the deceased husband's brother or next in kin until she begets a child. So, an issueless widow could cohabit with the deceased, with the dead husband's with her dead husband's brother or blood relation. Kin is blood relation, as you know, until she begets a child. So this is called niyoga or levirate. Can anybody tell me what could have been the reason for such an institution to exist? Hello, good morning, all of you. Can anybody tell me what could be the reason as to why such an institution could have existed? Am I visible and audible? All of you? Hello? Am I visible and audible? Yeah. Dhyana, Ganesh, any idea what is the reason such an institution could have existed? Ravindra Babu, yes. Jyoti, sons, no. To beget sons, no. Can we have a better answer? Ryan Mario. Okay, for their family to grow. Okay, that's what Jyoti said, Ravindra Babu. No. Now, you see, what is the reason as to why this institution could have existed? The reason is this is to give social security to the girl, social security to the widow. Now, imagine this. I said, what is niyoga? An issueless widow could cohabit with the dead husband's brother or blood relation until she gets her own child. That is called niyoga or levirate. So this was meant to give social security to the girl. Let's say there's a girl who's 16 years old. Okay, today she got married, and in the evening she was going to her husband's house, and there's an accident on the way, and the husband is killed. So she's still young and beautiful, and she has become a widow at a very young age, that is 16 years. The society might take advantage of her. Therefore, to give social security to the girl, um, uh, this institution existed. This is called niyoga or levirate. Okay, this was the main reason, not for the family to grow as such. So such a marriage or relationship would last until the widow gets her own child. So once she has her own child, uh, uh, that relationship ends. So this is meant to give social security to the girl. So if she has her own child, it is presumed that the child will take care of her mother or his mother till she dies, till the mother dies, right? So that was the main reason. Good morning, all of you. Can I move on? Hello. So I stopped here yesterday. I finished with society. Let us come to Surya, therefore, widow remarriage was allowed then. Um, in the Rig Vedic period, yes, widow remarriage was allowed. Surya, good inference. Widow remarriage was definitely allowed in the Rig Vedic period, in the early Vedic period. So you can see here, levirate system. An issueless widow could cohabit with the dead husband's brother or next in kin, that is blood relation, until she begets her child. So widow remarriage existed, and we have no social evils during the Rig Vedic period. There was no sati, there was no dowry, there was no child marriage. Okay, widow remarriage existed. Widow remarriage existed. So all these, so it was a very good society with almost nil corruption, right? Now let's move on. Economy. So how was the economy of the Rig Vedic period? Let's understand this economy. Economy during the Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period. Basically, it was a pastoral economy. It was a pastoral economy. Cows and pastures were their main sources of wealth. Cows and pastures. That is grasslands. Cows and grasslands were their main source of wealth. And cow is called gau. Cow is called gau in the Rig Veda. And this was the most important animal. Most important animal was the cow, mentioned 176 times in the Rig Veda. In the Rig Veda, it is mentioned 176 times. Now, cow and its appellations have been used in various contexts. For example, the Rajan was the tribal chief, and the Rajan is also called Gopa. Gopa means protector of cattle. Gopa means protector of cattle. Protector of the cattle. Then a rich man is called Gomat. Gomat. So you can see the word go here. So Gomat is a rich man. That is, let's say that one person has 100 cows and B has 200 cows. So B is a richer person than A because B has more cows compared to that of A. So here, Gomat is a rich man. Then we have a daughter called Dauhitra. Dauhitra or Dauhitri, referring to a daughter. So she is called milker of cow. Milker of Dauhitra means milker of cow, referring to a daughter, as if the daughter's duty was only to milk the cow. Then we have Gotra. Gotra means cow pen. What's cow pen? Cow pen is where the cattle are tied without any shed on top. That's called a cow pen. But here, Gotra means descent from a common ancestor. Descent from a common ancestor. Descent from a common ancestor. And generally, even now we have Gotra system existing. It's a Vedic, legacy. And generally, they were named after a prominent sage. So they were named after Gotra was named after a prominent sage or an ancestor like Bharadvaja Gotra, Gotama Gotra, okay, like that. Atri. So these are some of the sages on whose name Gotras were named. Gotra. Then we have something called Gogna. Gogna. What is Gogna? Literally means cow killer. Cow killer. Yeah, they were named after rishis, also gods. That is true. Gogna, cow killer, referring to a guest. So here, what is the meaning of this? When some guest came to the house of a Vedic Aryan, he could be given beef. So cow killer. Gogna means cow killer, referring to a guest. So beef was very much consumed during the Vedic period. But the question is, what type of cows were killed? Now, please understand, cow is called Aghanya. Cow was the most important animal. 176 times it has been mentioned in the Rig Veda. We have seen that. And cow is called Aghanya. Aghanya means not to be killed. not to be killed. But then we are saying here that cow was killed and eaten. Now, what type of cows were killed? The sterile cows. The sterile cows were killed and eaten. What is the meaning of sterile here? That is those cows which had stopped giving milk and which had stopped giving birth to calves. So sterile cows were killed and eaten, whereas fertile cows were spared. Fertile cows are those which give milk and give birth to calves. So we have some shlokas which mention that cow was very much consumed in the Vedic period. This is according to prominent historians, right? Like Apastamba Smriti, there's a shloka which says that the Brahmin should be fed with meat and fish to satisfy the Pitrus, the dead ancestors. So we have shlokas which make a reference to the Brahmin being fed on beef, right? So Gogna, this is a little controversial. The rightist historians say that cow was not killed or consumed for that matter. But then this is the opinion given by prominent historians. Even in the R.S. Sharma book, it is given. So we stick by what the prominent historians have said without going into the controversial aspects of this particular issue. So Gogna refers to a guest, literally means cow killer. Then Godhuli, Godhuli refers to measurement of time. Godhuli, measurement of time. So you have the cow herd taking the cows or the cattle from the village in the morning through a gate, right? So as the cows are or the cattle are being led away from the village, they give out a lot of dhul. Dhul is dust. Okay, so they go out of the village throwing a lot of dust in the air, and then in the evening, the cow herd brings the cattle back to the village again through the same gate. So therefore, Godhuli meant measurement of time. Then Gavyuti, Gavyuti is measurement of distance. So cow was the most important animal in the Rig Vedic period, and we have seen how the word cow has been used in various contexts. The second most important animal was the horse, mentioned 215 times in the Rig Veda. The Rig Veda mentions about the horse 215 times, but since the horse is mentioned more number of times when compared to the cow, that did not make the horse the more important animal when compared to the cow. Cow was the most important animal, so please keep that in mind. We have also have reference to camel. Camel is called Ustra, right? Then agriculture was a supplementary activity. So main occupation of the Aryans was pastoralism, cows and pastures. Animal husbandry was their main occupation. Agriculture was a supplementary activity. Now, how do we know that agriculture was a supplementary activity and agriculture was engaged in? Because we have references to some agricultural implements. Agricultural implements. For example, we have Datra. Datra is a sickle. Okay, Sita. Sita is the field which was plowed, furrows, the field which had been plowed. That's called Sita. Datra is a sickle. And the main crop grown by the Aryans was Yava. Yava meant wheat and barley. So they grew wheat as well as barley. And during the Rigvedic period, the Aryans had no knowledge of rice. They did not cultivate rice. Rice was not known and therefore not cultivated, right, including cereals and pulses. So they grew wheat, wheat and barley called Yava, right? Then we have, of course, specialization in some crafts. We have example of the carpenter. The carpenter is called Takshan. Takshan was the carpenter. Vaptri or Vapta is the barber. Bhishaka was the medicine man, something like a doctor. Kulala was a potter. Mrigaya was the hunter, etc. So there were some people who engaged in specialization of crafts, like the Takshan, the carpenter. Barber was the barber. This is Vaptari. Bishaka was the medicine man, Kulala potter, Mrigaya hunter, etc. Now, regarding the mode of exchange, what was the mode of exchange? The mode of exchange was the cow. The mode of exchange was the cow. There were no coinage during this period, so it was more basically a barter system. Apart from cow, we have gold ornaments called Nishka, Hiranya Pindas, and Manas. So Nishka, Hiranyapindas, and Manas. These are gold ornaments of fixed weight and value. They did not denote coins. So Nishka, Hiranyapindas, and Manas, they were gold ornaments of fixed weight and value. They did not denote coins, and this was also the mode of exchange, apart from the cow. Now, regarding metals, whether the early Aryans knew about iron, definitely no. They knew about Aya. Aya is copper and bronze. So Ayas was copper and bronze. They had no knowledge of iron during this period. They had no knowledge of iron, only copper and bronze. So, Nishka, Hiranyapindas, Manas were gold ornaments. So gold was known, right? So this is about the economy of the Rig Vedic Aryans. Are you there with me? Horse was using as transport, sir. Yeah. Um, yes, they were a horse riding community, Ryan. That is true. They were a horse riding community. That's very much true. Zeba, why the class is showing at 9 a.m. in batch 7? Is it true? I don't know. Are you referring to my batch? I have no idea. Oh my God. Okay. Um, just give me a moment's time. Just give me a moment's time. Okay. Okay. That will be taken care of. You don't worry about that. The backend team will look into it. If any problem, please message them or speak to them. I'll continue my class. So here, Ayas refers to copper and bronze, and the Rig Vedic Aryans had no knowledge of iron. So this is the economy of the Rig Vedic period, pretty much the economy of the Rig Vedic period. So you can see on your screen, it was a pastoral economy. It was basically a pastoral economy. Cow was the center of their socio-economic life, socio-political life, epicenter of their socio-political life, and cow has been used in various contexts. Various appellations um, have been applied for the cow. Raja known as Gopa. Gomat was a rich man. Dauhitar, daughter. Gotra refers to a cowpen, right? So we have seen all these things. Godoli, Gavyuti, Gogna, referring to a cow killer. So we have R.L. Mitra. Rajendra Mitra writes a book called Indo-Aryans. In that book, he says that beef eating was very much in practice in the Vedic period. And even the Brahmins were fed with meat and fish. Apastamba Smriti says this. So from this we come to know that beef was very much consumed during the Vedic period. And of course, cow was the most important animal. Next came the horse. So mentioned 215 times. Ustra was the camel. Now, lion was known to the Rigvedikaryans, but not the tiger. You remember this? Harappans knew about the tiger, but not the lion. Harappans knew about tiger, but not lion. Whereas in the Vedic period, we have reference to lion, but not tiger. So keep that in mind. So tiger was not known to the Vedic Aryans, only lion was known. Agriculture was a supplementary activity. Yava was their main crop, wheat and barley. Rice was not known. And of course, we have these agricultural tools and implements like plow. Plow was called Sira, Langala. Later in the Vedic period, in the later Vedic period, it was called Hala. Sita were furrows. Urvara was a fertile land, etc. Right? Textile industry, mostly engaged in by women. We have certain garments like nivi, paridana, atka, etc. So women engage in spinning and weaving. And we have other artisans like the takshan, the carpenter, the chariot maker called Rathakara. Kulala was the potter. And the most distinctive pottery of this period is called Neela Lohita. PGW, painted grey ware. See, Harappan pottery we have seen yesterday. It was called black on red ware, BRW. Isn't it? Harappan pottery is called BRW. That was the pottery of the Harappans. Whereas the pottery of the Vedic period is painted grey ware. This was the most distinctive pottery, painted grey ware, PGW. Right? This was the most important pottery. And this was a PGW non-iron phase. PGW non-iron phase. So Rig Vedic period is also called PGW non-iron phase. People had no knowledge of iron during this period. Right. And then, of course, we looked at the metals. The Aryans did not know about iron. They knew only about copper and bronze. And it was a limited trade and commerce. It was a self-sufficient economy. What self-sufficient economy? Whatever they required, they produced it or they manufactured it. They grew it or they manufactured it, not for the wider market as such. So it was a self-sufficient economy. And cow was the mode of exchange apart from some gold ornaments, which I have mentioned. Nishkas, Manas, Hiranyapandhyas, etc. Right? So this is about the Rig Vedic economy as such. Divyani, the rich man is described by how much cow and horse. No, not horse, Divyani, not horse, by the number of cows he had. So if somebody had more cows than the other person or more cattle than the other person, that person was considered to be richer than the other person, right? Okay, so now I'll move on. We'll come to the Rig Vedic religion. Rig Vedic religion. Now, how was the Rig Vedic religion? Let's understand this. Rig Vedic religion. Now, the Rig Vedic religion has been called henotheism. It has been called henotheism or kathinotheism. Natural ores, Divyani, how did they find metals? Natural ores, it is found in the bowels of the earth. So that's how metals are found, isn't it? So you extract the ore and then you fabricate the tools and implements. So that's how it was. So religion. So how was the Rig Vedic religion? Rig Vedic religion has been called henotheism or kathinotheism. So let's understand this. What is monotheism? Monotheism, as you all know, worship of one god, right? And polytheism is worship of many gods. So when you have monotheism within polytheism, it is called henotheism or kathinotheism. That is monotheism within polytheism. Monotheism within polytheism can be called as henotheism or kethinotheism. For example, among the Hindus, we have so many gods. We have, for example, Ganesh is there, Shiva is there, Vishnu is there, Hanuman is there. There could be saints like Sai Baba. There could be other goddesses, Lakshmi, Kali, Durga, and so on and so forth. Right? Now, among the Hindus, Hindus worship all these gods and goddesses, but one god or goddess is more important than the other. The house god, or what is called um, you know the Kula Devata. Okay, Kula Devata. So the Kula Devata is more important or considered more important than the other gods or goddesses. So that is the meaning of henotheism or kethinotheism. The Aryans worship many gods, but one god or one god amongst them was given more importance than the other gods. Did you get me? Hello? Divyani, the evidence comes from the reference in the Vedic literature, in the Rig Veda. Reference is from the fact that it has been mentioned in the Vedic literature. That's the only reference we have. Okay. Now, come. Did you understand what I'm saying? Kula Devata. So this Kula Devata was considered to be more important than the other gods. For example, even nowadays we have this tradition. Let's say among the Hindus, a family is having some problems, economic problems. Things are not moving. The son and the children are not getting jobs, or not they're not getting married. There's always some disease and tension in the house, and the family members, the grandparents or the parents, take the jataka, the astrological chart of the children and of themselves to the astrologer. The astrologer will do some calculation, and then he'll say, your Kul Devata is very angry. When did you last go and visit your Kul Dev? When did you go and, visit the temple? And that person might say it might have been 10 years, 15 years. Look there, that's where the problem arises. The Kul Devata is very, very angry with your family. That's why all these problems are occurring. You better go there and you seek the pardon of the Kul Devata, maybe feed some people, make a sacrifice, and then everything will be all right. So even nowadays, this particular tradition is followed. So we'll come back here. See, so here there were 33 gods. There were 33 gods during this period, and these 33 gods have been divided into three sections. Okay, they have been divided into three sections. We have the earthbound gods, terrestrial gods. Okay, Roshan, I have been trying from 6 a.m. Harika, yeah. Any problem? Is the transmission fine? Everything is okay? Are you able to hear me? Okay. Any problem from our end? I began the class on time. Okay. Okay. So whatever technical issue is there, that is being resolved. Please bear with us. So don't worry about that. Okay. So they are looking into the matter. So don't worry about that. So here we have there were 33 gods. So just focus on the class. Any technical issue, they will take care of it. So don't worry about that. So we'll come back here. So there were 33 gods divided into three sections. Terrestrial gods, that is earthbound gods, gods which were existing on the earth. Then we have atmospheric gods. Atmospheric gods, they're called Madhyamasthana. So Prithvi Sthana, Prithvi as you know is the earth. Prithvi Sthan, the earthbound gods. Atmospheric gods, that is the Madhyamasthana, Madhyamasthana gods. And celestial gods, Dhyusthana. Dhyusthana. Dhyusthana is the celestial gods. So the gods were divided to three sections. For example, who are the terrestrial gods? Terrestrial gods are these, as you can see on your screen: Prithvi, Agni, Soma, Brihaspati, rivers. They're all the Prithvisthana, terrestrial gods, earthborn gods, right? Antarikshasthana or Madhyamasthana. So they were somewhere in between, between the earth and the celestial area. So Indra, Rudra, Vayu, Vata, Parajanya, Matariswan. These are the Madhyamasthana gods or intermediate level gods. And then we have celestial gods, Dhyusthana, Dayus, Mitra, Surya, Savitri, Pushan, Vishnu, Aditya, Ushas, Ashwins. So these are the three levels into which the gods were divided. Apart from these gods, you see the most important god was Indra. The most important god was Indra during the Rig Vedic period. So we are talking about Rig Vedic religion here, Rig Vedic period religion. So the most important god was Indra. And Indra, we have 250 hymns dedicated to Indra. 250 shloks are dedicated to Indra. He was the war god of the Aryans, war god, as well as the rain god. Yeah, good morning, all of you. Stephen, I started the class at 7. So I have covered economy. So I gave an overview of the topic, whatever I did yesterday, and then I'm continuing the class. So don't worry about it. You just focus on the class and going back and look into the PPTs. Go back and look into the PPTs, then you'll be able to understand. And you can hear the recorded version of it. We'll come back here. So there were 250 hymns dedicated to Indra. He was the war god and the rain god of the Aryans. So now the rain god duty is done by Varuna. Varuna has been given that job nowadays. But those days, Indra was also the person who caused rain. Now, he has been given different titles. He has been called Purandhara. Indra has been called Purandhara, that is breaker of forts. Breaker of forts. And here, when I did Harappan civilization, I made a reference to this. Aryans used to drink Soma and Sura, intoxicants of those days called Soma and Sura. They used to worship their warlord Indra and then go to war. And Purandara here refers to the breaker of forts. That is, forts here refer to the citadel area of the Harappans. So he's called Purandara. That is one of the titles of Indra. He's called Somappa. Somappa is the principal Soma drinker. So he was like a rowdy god, rowdy, immoral deity. He's called a rowdy, immoral deity. So Purandara, Somappa, Jitendra. He's also called Vritrahan. Vritrahan. He's supposed to have killed a demon in the guise of a serpent with his weapon called Vajra. So Vajra was the weapon of Indra. So with Vajra, he's supposed to have killed this demon who had taken the form of a snake. So that's why he's called Vritrahan, right? So known by different titles, and he was the most important god of the Aryans. So what was his mount? His mount or a vehicle was the Airavat. Airavat was his mount. So this is an elephant with 7 trunks and 4 tusks. So this elephant has, I believe, 4 tusks, 7 trunks, and it is white in color. It is white in color. There's no reference to the Apsaras. You know, Indra is associated with Apsaras, Rambha, Urvashi, Menaka, Tilottama, etc. There is no reference to these Apsaras as of now in the Rigvedic period. Probably they were not yet born. They occur much later in the Vedic literature. So okay, this is Indra, the most important god of the Aryans. Am I there with you? Hello, I hope you're enjoying the topic. Yeah, Surya. Okay, so this is Indra for you. Then we have another god, Agni. Understand this, very interesting. Agni. Agni was the second most important god of the Aryans. 200 hymns. Yeah, Surya, then it means it had 7 heads. Yeah, 7 trunks. Only one head, Surya. You don't run your head, Surya. One head, 7 trunks, 4 tusks, and white in color. Fantastic, isn't it? Right. So 200 hymns. Agni, 200 hymns are dedicated to him. Now, Agni is called the god of the priests and the priest of the gods. समझा करो यहाँ पे. He is called god of the priests, and priest of the gods. plus priest of the gods. Now, what was the duty of Agni? He acted as an intermediary. He acted as an intermediary, that is middleman. He acted as an intermediary between people on the earth. You see, UPSC has asked a question in the mains, very surprisingly last year. We look at that question. They have asked about Vedic society and religion, and how some of the traits exist even nowadays. We are practicing many of the practices which existed in the Vedic period. So this was a mains question, 250-word mains question, full question that asked. So this was very surprising. So please understand this topic. The fun part is there. I'll tell you stories also in between, but then you will listen. As of now, you listen to it. Now, Agni is called intermediary. Intermediary is middleman between people on the earth and gods in the heaven. So he even now continues to do that job. So what is this intermediary or middleman between people on the earth and gods in the heaven? Now, let's say there's a family. There's a family, and that family is going through a lot of problems, health issues, progress issues, etc. Now they go to the astrologer, and the astrologer will look at the chart. He'll make the calculation, etc., and he will say that the gods are very angry. Aap home karo, do a homa, right? Appease the gods. You please the gods with a home. Let us say Ganapati home or Navagraha homa or Shiva homa, Rudra homa, so many, and so on and so forth. So he might suggest a few homas, and he might point out that some gods are very angry with the family, and that's why all these problems are occurring. Now the family agrees to perform the homa, and they give the money to the priest, and or the priest might give a list of things to for the puja, for the homa. So they come to an agreement, and then a date is fixed, a day is fixed, and the priests come, and the family is ready. They have taken a bath, and they have got ready to welcome the priest and see that the homa is performed in their premises. It could be performed in the home, in that person's house, or in a temple, but generally it is in the house. So the priests come, about seven, eight of them come. They are given some food to eat, and then the homa starts. They set up the yagna kund, homa kund, and then they have brought all those materials: rice, paddy, grains, cereals, pulses, ghee, honey, milk, butter, curd, so on and so forth. Now they kindle a fire. Okay, all the family members are sitting, parents, children, etc., and then they kindle a fire, and then first the home starts with Ganapati home. Now, Ganesha has to be appeased. Ganesha is also very angry with the family. So what do? They put that swaha, right? So you have ghee being poured every now and then. The family is also chanting those mantras which the priests are chanting, and the priests are directing the family, the father, to do certain homa, and the other members are also sitting. So swaha. So yeah, what happens is you have a smoke generated. So paddy is put into the paddy grains, dal, ghee, butter, milk, honey, so on and so forth is put into the home. So smoke is created, right? Now, what is this symbolic meaning of this? All the offerings are put in the fire, and through the smoke, that is, what is the vehicle of Agni? We have seen the vehicle of Indra, Airavat. Airavat was the elephant, which was the vehicle of Indra. What is Agni's vehicle? Smoke. He's called Havyavahana. Havyavahana. Havyamahana means Havya is smoke. So through the medium of smoke, all those offerings which have been put into the homa is taken to the sky. It is taken into the heavens, and Ganesha is waiting there to have his breakfast. So when all those offerings are put into the fire, all or everything is consumed by Ganesha, and he is happy now because he has been fed. His tummy has been pleased, and he blesses the family. Okay, I'm happy. So I'll remove all your problems. Don't worry. Similarly, other gods are, homa is done for other gods like Rudra, Shiva, the Navagrahas, etc. So this is Agni's work. He even now continues to act as a middleman or intermediary between people on the earth and gods in the heaven. And that is the significance of the homas, right? Where does Agni reside? In the domestic hearth. He resides in the domestic hearth. I'm sure many of you have been witness to the homes. It might have happened in your house or in a temple, etc. Right? So domestic hearth, that is your kitchen. Agni Mula, as it is called, Agni Mula, where you have your kitchen, right? Generally, in the southeast portion of your house is the kitchen. That's where the kitchen is supposed to exist according to Vastu Shastra. So, domestic hearth. And in the sky, he exists in the form of lightning. At the atmospheric level, he is in the form of lightning, and at the celestial level, he is in the form of sun. So, this is Agni for you. Did you understand? Roshan, Chulha, southeast direction में होना चाहिए. That is according to the Vastu Shastra, right? So this is Agni, second most important god. Then we have the third most important god, Soma. Soma, he was the third most important god. So we have a book called Mandala 9. In Mandala 9, there are 120 hymns. Out of 120 shlokas, 114 shlokas, 114 shlokas are dedicated to Soma. Now, Soma was a drink. You know this. Soma was a drink. Soma was also the name of a god. Now, where does Soma reside? He resides, I believe, in the Mujavant Hills. So that was his headquarters. Mujavant Hills in the Himalayas. Mujavant Hills in the Himalayas. That's where he stays, Soma. And a drink was named after him. So he was the third most important god. He is called in the Rigvedic period, he was the god of plants. He was the god of plants. And in the later Vedic period, he was the king of gods. King of gods. Yeah, Somapana. Okay, fine. Did you get me? So this is Soma, the third most important god. Then I go to other gods here. I'll use another page. So we have Soma. Then we have Varuna. Varuna, 20 hymns are dedicated to him. 20 hymns are dedicated to him. And Varuna is called the upholder of the Ratha. He is supposed to uphold the Ratha. The cosmic order, upholder of Ratha, or what is known as cosmic order. What is cosmic order here? So this was a UPSC question asked. Who is the god who upholds the Ratha? Ratha means, or Rita or Ratha, it is supposed to be the cosmic order. What is cosmic order here? That is the sun, arising in the horizon, rising up in the horizon early every morning, then going down in the evening, the moon arising, rising up in the evening sky, the night sky, oceans flowing with no one ocean overflowing. So everything is maintained smoothly, and therefore Varuna is called world sovereign. He is called the king of the world sovereign. And he's supposed to reside in a palace of 1,000 pillars and 1,000 doors. So Varuna is supposed to live in a palace consisting of 1,000 pillars and 1,000 doors. 20 hymns are dedicated to him. And he is the upholder of the Rita, or the cosmic order. And then we have other gods, like for example, we have the female goddesses. Many goddesses are mentioned. Goddesses like Usha, early morning goddess. Usha is the early morning goddess. Then we have Aranyani, forest goddess. So Usha is the early morning goddess. Aranyani, forest goddess. Then Nirti, goddess of death and decay. We have Savitri, the solar goddess. So Savitri is the solar goddess. And we have a very important mantra in the Rig Veda called Gayatri mantra. So Gayatri mantra. So I'm sure many of you know this Gayatri mantra. You have heard about it. Om Bhur Bhuvaswaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonat Prachodayat. Right? This is Gayatri mantra. Gayatri mantra is the most important mantra or the hymn in the Rig Veda. It was supposedly composed by sage Vishwamitra. It was composed by sage Vishwamitra, and even now the Gayatri mantra is chanted after so many thousands of years. So this is dedicated to the solar goddess Savitri. It is dedicated to the solar goddess Savitri. It is supposed to bring knowledge, enlightenment to a person who chants that, and also fortify him. That is what is the belief, the Gayatri mantra. So these are some of the gods worshipped by the Rigvedic Aryans. What was the Rigvedic religion like? It was simple and materialistic. The religion was simple and materialistic. What is the meaning of simple and materialistic? What is the meaning of materialistic here? Here, materialistic is the people pray to gods by offering them yava. Yava, that is wheat and barley. They offered them wheat and barley, simple offerings of vegetables, fruits. Yava, vegetables, fruits were offered to them. And they prayed to gods for praja, pashu, dhana. So they will make offerings of yava, vegetables, fruits, and in return ask for praja, that is mainly sons, pashu, that is cattle, and dhana, wealth. So मैं ये देता हूं, आप हमको ये दे दो वापस में, right? So that was materialistic religion. So there was no concept of moksha and such things. So the people followed simple rituals. They made offerings of yava, vegetables, fruits, etc. And in return from the gods, they asked for praja, pashu, dhana. So it was a simple and materialistic religion. Did you understand? Right. Can I move on? Zeba, I just now told you, materialistic is it is like bribing the gods. Gods were given offered yava, that is wheat and barley, vegetables, fruits, etc. And in return, after making these offerings to the gods, the people prayed to the gods for bestowing them upon them praja, pashu, dhana. That is called materialistic religion. Zeba, are you clear? Okay. Yeah, even now the same tradition is followed. Yeah, Abhijit, I'll keep that in mind. Clear, all of you? Right. So this is about Rig Vedic period. Anjali, I have explained Praja, Pashu, Dhana yesterday only. Praja is mainly sons, Pashu is cattle, and Dhana is wealth. Okay. So this is about the Rig Vedic religion. You can see on your screen um, Shatapatha Brahmana. We have a book called Shatapatha Brahmana. It says the most important story in this is the Devasura Sangrama. That is fight between gods and demons, and on the advice of Brahma, people elected Indra as their leader. All the gods elected Indra as their leader, and after that they began to score victories over the asuras, the demons. So here the most important god was Indra. On your screen you can see Indra, a white elephant. That was his mount Airavat. 250 hymns are dedicated to him. He was a rain lord, rain god, and the warlord of the Aryans. So called by different titles. Purandhara is one of the titles. Then Somapa, principal Soma drinker, right? He was the most important god during the Rigvedic period. Followed by Agni, 200 hymns are dedicated to him. He was an intermediary between people on the earth and gods in the heaven. He continues to be an intermediary even now. Agni, second most important god. The third most important god was Soma. So in the Rigvedic period, he was king of plants, and in the later Vedic period, he was the king of gods as such. And in Mandala 9, 114 hymns are dedicated to Soma. He is supposed to reside in the Mujavant Hills. He resides in the Mujavant Hills. That's where he resides. That was his headquarters. Right? Then we have other gods. Varuna, 20 hymns are dedicated to him. And he is the upholder of the Rita, or the natural order or cosmic order. And he is called world sovereign, king of the world. This is Varuna for you. Then we have female divinities like Usha, early morning goddess, Aditi, goddess of eternity, Aranyani, the forest goddess, Nirti, goddess of decay and death, Savitri, the solar goddess. And the Gayatri mantra is in praise of her, composed by sage Vishwamitra. So these are the various gods, Aranyani, Aditi, Savitri, right? And then there was no concept of moksha here. Neither was there the concept of metempsychosis. What is metempsychosis? The idea of souls being reborn in plant, animal, or human form. Souls, a person dies, that person's soul is reborn in animal, plant, or human form. That idea was not existing. There is no karma concept. No, the word karma doesn't occur in the Rig Veda, though there is a reference to the saying that a person's conduct in this life influences his birth, influences life after death. So a person's conduct in this life influences his life after death. So the word karma is not there though. So this is about the Rig Vedic period. Are you there with me? This is about the Rig Vedic period. All of you, are you there with me? Clear? Harika, okay. Any doubts? So there was equality between people, society being paternal. Surya, I have already explained this. Paternalism. Here, father was the head of the house, and it was a patriarchal society and a patrilineal society. Important positions in the tribe were held by males, not females. In that sense, it was a patriarchal society. But then women were given a position, though they did not hold any official position as such, but their position and was equal to that of the males in terms of respect and importance. Their position was on par with males because they had a lot of freedom. If she did not want, that girl who did not want to marry, it was up to her. It was up to her. There was no force used. There was no child marriage. There was no sati. There was no dowry. Widow remarriages were encouraged. So all this shows that the society was pretty liberal, and there was a lot of freedom for the girls, right? So in that sense, there was equality compared to the society which turned out later. Shatapatha Brahmana. So you have Brahmanas. These are books which deal with ceremonies, Brahmanas, and in one Brahmana, there's one book called Shatapatha Brahmana. So that is called Shatapatha Brahmana. Name of the book is Shatapatha Brahmana, right? Yeah, it was a Brahmana text of the Rig Veda. That is true. So we have so many. We will talk about Vedic literature when I do a literature topic in art and culture. So we have Indian literature. We'll be discussing that topic, and in detail, I'll deal with Vedic literature. That is then you'll come to know. Divide into Shruti, Smruti, Vedic literature. What is Shruti? We have the divinely revealed knowledge: Vedas, Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads. These are called Shruti, and Smruti is that which is written by human beings, right? It is man-made. It is written by human beings, like the epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Puranas, the Dharma Shastras. These are all come under the category of Smriti. Okay, so um, let us come to the later Vedic period. Now look here. So we'll discuss the later Vedic period now. Later Vedic period. So 1000 to 600 BC. 1000 to 600 BC is the later Vedic period. Now, why is it called later Vedic period? Because we have the later Vedic literature, which gives the main source of information for the study of this period. So, minus the Rig Veda, leaving aside the Rig Veda, we have the other books: Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, Dharma Shastras. Okay, that is the law books of India, epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata. All these books come under the category of later Vedic literature. So these books give information about the 400 years of the life of the Aryans. That is from 1000 to 600 BC. And therefore it is called later Vedic period. So later Vedic literature gives us information about this period. Therefore it is called later Vedic period. Now, what happened during this period? Understand this. So we have these rivers here. You can see Sindhu. This is a Sindhu. This is a Satudri, the Yamuna, and the Ganga. And the Aryans were confined to this area in the Rig Vedic period, the Sapta Sindhu region, isn't it? Sapta Sindhu. This was the Sapta Sindhu region. And they lived for how many years here? 500 years. They lived for 500 years. And we have looked at this life of the Aryans when they lived in the Sapta Sindhu region. Only one book gives information about the 500 years of the life of the Aryans. That is the Rig Veda, hence called Rig Vedic period. And just now we have finished Rig Vedic period. Now, what happened in these 500 years? what happened in these 500 years? The population of the Aryans increased. They were living in the Sapta Sindhu region along with their cattle. They continued to engage in pastoralism. So in these 500 years, it is said that the population of the Aryans increased, the population of their cattle increased, right? And the Sapta Sindhu region was not able to sustain the growing population of the Aryans. Therefore, the Aryans by 1000 BC, यहाँ पे देखिए, by 1000 BC, the Aryans in large numbers crossed the Yamuna. They crossed the Yamuna and entered a thickly forested area known as the Indo-Gangetic Basin. On your screen. So this is the Ganga Yamuna Doab or Indo-Gangetic Basin. Indo-Gangetic Basin or the Ganga Yamuna Doab. So this was thickly forested. So what did the Aryans do? By 1000 BC, they had discovered iron. By 1000 BC, they had discovered iron, or they had come to have the knowledge of iron. So what they did is they burned down patches of the forest. They used fire. They used Agni to burn down patches of the forest. And with their iron axes, iron implements, they cut down the forests and made it fit for agriculture. So how do we know this? We have a shloka in the Shatapada Brahmana, a book called Shatapada Brahmana. There's a shloka which says that Prince Vaidagamadava left the Saraswati region and migrated to the Sadinara basin, that is the Gandak basin. And in this process of migration, he was helped by the god Agni, right? So there's a shlok or a hymn in a book called Shatapada Brahmana, which tells us that a prince called Vaidagamadava, left the Saraswati region and migrated to the Sadinara region, that is the Gandak basin, identified with the Gandak basin. And in this process of migration, he was helped by the god Agni. Agni is fire, as you know. So from this, it is derived, from this shloka, it is derived by historians that the Aryans used fire to burn down patches of the forest. And by this time, they had come to have the knowledge of iron. So they cut down the forest and made it fit for agriculture. So what becomes the main occupation during this period? Agriculture becomes the main occupation. Agriculture became the main occupation during this period. Okay, are you there with me? Now, agriculture becomes the main occupation during the later Vedic period. Now, what happened? Once the Aryans took to agriculture, they began to lead a settled life. Please understand this, right? Please understand this. I'll use another page. Once the Aryans took to agriculture, agriculture becomes their main occupation. They had to stay in a particular place. You cannot be nomads roaming around and engage in agriculture, right? So they were forced to stay in one place. That resulted in the coming into existence of a territory or a janapada. So imagine this. This is a forest. यहाँ पे देखिए on your screen. Please look here. So this is a forest. Let us say this is a forested area, and a few people, let us say A, B, C, D here, they, with their family members, with their relations, they cut down patches of the forest, they burn down patches of the forest and make it fit for agriculture. So let us say this is the plot of A. So A has, with his family members and relations, burned down patches of the forest, and with iron axes, he has cleared that patch of the forest and made it fit for agriculture. Similarly, B has done the same thing here. C has done the same thing here. D has done it here, and so on and so forth. So they are forced to stay in one place and engage in agriculture. So the concept of a territory comes into existence. The concept of a territory. So they are staying in this territory. Okay. So they are staying in this territory, fixed territory, and they're engaged in agriculture. So that resulted in the birth of Janapada, territorial kingdom. Janapada, territory. Janapada means territory. So people began to live in fixed territories. So once they took to agriculture, this brought about a revolution in the polity, society, economy, and also religion of the Aryans. So it impacted all aspects of their life, polity, society, economy, and religion, once they took to settled agriculture. Right? Because here, please understand, the concept of a private property comes into existence. The concept of private property comes into existence. So here, let us say A has burned down patches of the forest. Those days, land was available in plenty. Population was very less. Land was available in plenty. So whoever clears the forest and makes it fit for agriculture automatically becomes the owner of that plot of land. Understand this? Whoever clears the forest and makes it fit for agriculture automatically becomes the owner of that plot of land. So A has done the same thing. Similarly, B, C, D have done the same thing. So this part of the forest is A's private property because he has taken the trouble of clearing the forest and making it fit for agriculture. Similarly, B, C, D, etc. are their private properties. So the concept of a private property comes into existence. And the concept of a territory also comes into existence. So you need to understand what was the geographical knowledge of the later Vedic Aryans. So from the later Vedic literature, what are the various places mentioned about this country that we come to know that the Aryans came to know about. So here in the Rig Vedic period, we have references to some places mentioned in the Rig Veda. Like for example, we know that the Rig Vedic Aryans knew Himalayas because some peaks are mentioned about of the Himalayas. They did not know about desert. There's the word called Samudra that only meant confluence of rivers, etc., etc. We know this. What about the places mentioned in the later Vedic literature? You see, North India. Let us understand the geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans. North India was called Aryavarta. Yesterday, somebody asked me this question. What is Aryavarta? So, geographically, it refers to the place between the Himalayas and Vindhyas. Between the Himalayas and Vindhyas, that area came to be called Aryavarta. So, North India was called Aryavarta. Central India came to be called Madhyadesh. Madhyadesh. Nowadays it is called Madhya Pradesh, isn't it? So Central India came to be called Madhyadesh. South India came to be called Dakshinapata. Dakshinapata. So in other words, Aryans were no more confined to the Sapta Sindhu region. They had spread to other parts of the country. They had pretty much come to have the knowledge of the entire geography of this country. There is reference to the three oceans. So three oceans are mentioned. So earlier Samudra meant a Sangama or Sangam or confluence of rivers. Here the Aryans knew about the three oceans. There's reference to the desert, the Thar desert. So, right, and there are also references to some tribes living in the south of the country, south of India's. So pretty much they had come to have the knowledge of the entire country. And the later Vedic period is called PGW, iron phase. Because by this time they had come to have the knowledge of iron. PGW, iron phase. Did you understand? Hello, all of you, clear? Clear? Can you raise your hands quickly so that I can go further? Thank you. Thank you. Now, how did this aspect impact the polity? Once the Aryans began to stay in the, expanded into the Indo-Gangetic basin and agriculture becomes their main occupation, how was the impact on the polity? What was the polity like? What was the society like? What was the economy like? So let us come to know that. PGW, painted grayware, Dipender, painted grayware. They used to paint their pots with gray color, therefore called painted grayware. Zeba both increased. Population of their cattle, population of the Aryans also increased. The Sapta Sindhu region could not sustain them. sustain the growing population of the Aryans. So therefore, in large numbers, they crossed the Yamuna and entered the Indo-Gangetic basin, and agriculture becomes their main occupation. Now look here. What was the polity like now? Later Vedic polity. Later Vedic polity. Let's understand this. Later Vedic polity. Later Vedic polity. Now look here. Chiefdom gave place to kingdom. Chiefdom was replaced by kingdom. Jana became Janapada. Understand these words, please. Jana is what? Tribe. Jana was a tribe. Now Janapada is territory, territorial kingdom, territory. So you have the concept of a territory coming into existence. Chiefdom gave place to kingdom. So in the Rigvedic period, the Aryans were divided into a number of tribes led by a chief, tribal chief. Now chiefdom gave place to kingdom. And so you have the king who was a king in all respects. He was not elected. And by the end of the Rigvedic period, please understand, by the end of the later Vedic period, we have small kingdoms coming into existence in the Ganga Yamuna Doab, like Hastinapur, Kaushambi, etc. So the king was a king in all respects. So you have he was no more elected. It was generally hereditary. Kingship became hereditary. Bureaucracy expanded. Bureaucracy expanded. There were 12 ministers. 12 ministers. They're called Dwadasha Ratnins. Dwadasha Ratnin. Ratnin means minister. Ratnin means minister. Dwadasha means 12. Like Dwadasha Jyotirlinga. No? There are 12 Jyotirlingas all over India, isn't it? Dwadasha, 12. So Sanskrit word, Dwadasha, 12. Ratnin is minister. So there were 12 ministers to assist the king in the discharge of his duties, because now you have a territorial state which had come into existence. People were living in a fixed boundary. Population obviously was increasing. Why? Because you had more mouths to feed. Agriculture was the main occupation. So there was no dearth of food. So the population was increasing and people were living in a fixed territory. Obviously, to maintain law and order, you require an army to be maintained, and bureaucracy expanded. So the king was assisted by 12 ministers. We look at that. Like, for example, Bhaga Duga, collector of taxes, Sangrahitri, treasurer, Mahishi, chief queen, Suta, court minstrel, okay, so on and so forth. We'll come to that. There are 12 ministers to assist the king in the discharge of his duties. Now, but please understand, you have a regular taxation machinery which comes into existence. So a taxation machinery comes into existence. Earlier, what was the main source of income for the king? It was bali and war booty. Bali was voluntary offering and war booty. But now you have the kings imposing taxes on their people. So you have a taxation machinery which comes into existence. And what was the king share? This was the earliest tax collected by the kings of India. Bhaga. Bhaga was 1/6. 1/6 of the gross produce. 1/6 of the gross produce had to be given to the king. Maximum 1/6, minimum 1/10. So minimum 1/10 and maximum 1/6. 1/6 is about 16%, isn't it? 16.66%. 1/10 is 10%. So maximum 1/6, minimum 1/10. So this was the earliest tax to be imposed by the kings of India. Bhaga, 1/6 of the gross produce. Then you have the Purohit. The Purohit began to perform sacrifices to enhance the powers of the king. So what are the sacrifices which the Purohita performed? Now please understand, money was provided by the Raja. The Purohita or the priest who had the knowledge of the Shastras, the Vedas, etc., performed these sacrifices. Rajasuya Yagna, Ashwamedha Yagna, then Vajapeya Yagna, Hiranya Garbha Yagna. Hiranya Garbha Yagna. What is Rajasuya? It is a royal consecration ceremony. Royal consecration. That is, the king has come to power. What is called Pattabhisheka. That is, the king has sat on the throne, a new king, and so he's going to wear the crown, and he's going to be the new king. So this is the royal consecration ceremony. So he's consecrated as king, right? And we have the princelings, the chota chota princelings, who will also attend this ceremony. Rajasuya. This is to bestow divinity upon the king. So this is to bestow divinity upon the king. The Rajasuya Yagna. Ashwamedha Yagna. Ashwamedha is horse sacrifice. Horse sacrifice. I'm sure you must have seen this in Ramayana, Mahabharata serials. You see, what is this Ashwamedha sacrifice? Let's say there's a king called A. Okay, and this king A wants to perform a Ashwamedha sacrifice. So he will let loose a horse. This is the horse. Imagine this is the horse, right? This is the horse. So he let loose the horse along with some soldiers. And these are the neighboring territories. These are the neighboring territories. Okay, B, C, and D. So let's say this horse enters the territory of B. This horse enters the territory of B, and the Raja B will order that the horse be tied up, the horse be captured, which means to say that Raja B is challenging Raja A for war, right? So if the horse is tied up by the Raja B, there will be a war between A and B. And let's say A is able to defeat B. Okay, so B's territory will also come under his control. Similarly, let us say the horse reaches territory C. It enters the territory of C. Now the Raja C doesn't order the horse to be tied up. That means he is not challenging Raja A for war. So this process goes on for a year. At the end of the year, this horse is sacrificed. The horse, the Ashwamedha, Ashwa is sacrificed, hence called Ashwamedha sacrifice, right? So this is called Ashwamedha sacrifice. Then we have Vajapaya. What is Vajapaya sacrifice? Vajapaya literally means drink of strength. Vajapaya, drink of strength. Here, a chariot race, you have tournaments organized. Most important tournament organized is the chariot race. So the king's chariot is made to win at any cost. So something like match fixing has already been done by the king. Vajpaya is mostly done by a middle-aged king. So let us say he's about 40, 45 years old. He wants to show his public, to his people, to his subjects, that though he is getting old, he is still strong enough to defend them, to secure them, to give security to them. So what he will do is he will organize tournaments in front of the public, like WWF, WWE. So then there is no real fighting. People are acting as if they're hitting each other, right? So here there's a chariot race. The most important is a chariot race. So initially the king's chariot is losing. In the end, the king's chariot overtakes everybody else's chariot and wins the race. So the king is the one who is riding the chariot. So others are made to lose. They are supposed to go slow. And this is to fool the public. Similarly, there could be a wrestling competition, right? Great Khali versus, let us say, some king who is about 5 feet, 5.5 feet. So here, initially, the king is losing, and then he'll get up and give one shot to a huge wrestler like Khali, and Khali will fall down, and he will not get up at all. So it looks to the public that though their king is getting old, though he's middle-aged, he's still strong enough to defend them. This is the Vajapaya. The most important aspect of this is the chariot race. And after this sacrifice, the king took the title of Samrat. Hello, are you there with me? Yeah, all of you. So this is Vajapaya sacrifice. And then, of course, Hiranyagarbha. What is Hiranyagarbha? Hiranyagarbha is to commemorate a victory, to celebrate a victory. So a king has defeated another king, right? And therefore, since he has defeated the other king, he will have a sacrifice. That is called Hiranyagarbha sacrifice, to commemorate a victory. Okay, so this is the various sacrifices performed by the king. The Purohita performed the sacrifices. Now, please understand, since the Purohita had the knowledge of the Shastras, Vedas. He was a repository of all these knowledge of the Vedic literature. He began to claim superiority over the Kshatriyas also. The Purohita, the Brahmana Purohita began to claim superiority over the Kshatriya, including the above the king, because he began to feel that if I don't perform those sacrifices, it will not enhance the powers of the king. The king is dependent upon me. So this is one aspect of this, right? Purohita. Then we have early kingdoms which came into existence during this period. For example, we have, what are the names of these kingdoms? Like, for example, Magadha. Magadha was a king. Kuru. Then Kekaya, Kamboja, okay, etc. So these are some of the early kingdoms which came into existence in the later Vedic period. Mostly we have monarchies existing at this point in time. Mostly you had monarchies. I'll use another ring, sorry. So you had monarchies. So what is the meaning of monarchy? Where you have a king ruling, but we also have examples of republics. So mostly these kingdoms were monarchies, but then some were republics. What is the meaning of republic? Here, republic meant that the king was elected. So the population of a republic was small. So it was a small kingdom. Therefore, the people could elect their king. Whereas in a monarchy, the kingship was hereditary. The king was king in all respects. So this is about the later Vedic polity. We have Jana replaced by Janapada, territorial state. Chiefdom became kingdom. Kingship became hereditary. Bureaucracy expanded. 12 ministers assisted the king in the discharge of his duties. There was a regular taxation machinery. Bhaga was the earliest tax collected by the people. The Purohita performed sacrifices to enhance the power of the king. And please understand one more thing. During this period, even in the later Vedic period, the king had no standing army. In the Rig Vedic period, it was tribal levies. Even in the later Vedic period, the king had no standing army. He was dependent upon tribal levies. So, dependent upon tribal levies. So, tribals furnished the army to the king. So, king did not have a standing army as such. What is the meaning of standing army? Where the king has a regular army and he pays his officers and soldiers salaries, and they are ready to attack whenever the king wants them to. Here, in this case, the king is dependent upon other tribes to furnish the militia to for him to fight his wars. So this was the state of affairs in the later Vedic period. This is called later Vedic polity. Are you clear? Hello, all of you. And one more thing is, there were some kingdoms, there were some kings who were philosopher kings. What is the meaning of philosopher kings? That is, they were not only themselves very intellectually inclined philosophers, widely read and understood, and they also patronize a number of scholars. So these are called philosopher kings, right? So we will look at the list of those philosopher kings. Um, um, and who these which of these were the kingdoms ruled by these philosopher kings, and which philosopher they patronized. So this is about later Vedic polity. Are you there with me? All clear? So let me go back to the Sham. The backend team is working on it. You can listen to the recorded portion, Sham, so don't worry. If any doubts, even after that, you can ask me in the subsequent session. I will hope to answer them. So don't worry about that. We'll come back here. So geographical. So this is the later Vedic period. You can see the Aryans began to live in this area. Okay. The Indo-Gangetic basin. So slowly civilization was spreading from the west towards the east. So they came into India from the northwest, isn't it? From Central Asia, and then into Iran, and then into Afghanistan, and then into the Sapta Sindhu region. And slowly civilization began to spread from the west to the east. Punjab, then Haryana, Western UP, Western UP, Eastern UP, then Bihar. So that's how the civilization spread. Now look here, why it is called later Vedic period? Because we rely on the later Vedic textbooks for the reconstruction of the history of this period. What are the later Vedic textbooks? Samaved, Yajurved, Atharva Veda, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, Dharma Shastras, epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata. All these are the books which give information about the later Vedic period, that is from 1000 to 600 BC, right? And this is called PGW iron phase. The Aryans had discovered iron during this period, and they began to use iron, and they cleared the forests. They cleared the forest with the help of fire. So iron is also called Shamayas for the first time in the Yajurveda. Shama means dark. Shama, like Neela Mega Shama. Krishna is called tall, dark, handsome, isn't it? Lord Krishna. Neela Mega Shama. Shama is dark. So dark ayas, dark copper, and I know the bronze. Ayas is copper and bronze, isn't it? In the Rigvedic period. So Shama is dark ayas, that is referring to iron. So geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans, I've already discussed this. North India was called Aryavarta. You can see here, North India was called, yeah. So here, around from by 2000 BC, they had migrated from Eurasia to Central Asia. By 1500 BC, from Central Asia to the Sapta Sindhu region, and by 1000 BC, from Sapta Sindhu region to the Ganga Yamuna basin. So they were pastoralists. So they kept on migrating depending upon the availability of food, water, etc., for themselves and for their cattle. So they entered this thickly forested area. You can see on your screen Yamuna Ganga basin. This was a thickly forested area. So they cleared the forest with the help of fire. As we can see here in the Shatapatha Brahmana, this book called Shatapatha Brahmana, we have a tribe living in the Saraswati region and led by Prince Vaidaga Madhava and migrating to the Sadhinara region. And they were helped by the god Agni. So they used fire to burn down patches of the forest, and with the help of iron axes, they cut down the forest and made it fit for agriculture. So I've already told you this. Then North India is called Aryavarta. Central India is called Madhya Desh in the later Vedic literature. Land beyond the Vindhyas is called Dakshinapatha. So we have various tribes mentioned in the later Vedic literature south of the Vindhyas, and also the Aryans came to know about the sea, the eastern and the western seas, as well as the desert in Rajasthan, right? So polity, I told you, chiefdom gave way to kingdom, and tribal polity became monarchical polity. We have the concept of a territory coming into existence, Janapada. So Jana or tribe was replaced by Janapada. Territory became more important than cattle. So what happened to the assemblies? So you see here, what are the four assemblies in the Rigvedic period? The Sabha, I forgot to mention this, Sabha, Samiti, Vidhata, and Gana. These are the Samitis or assemblies in the Rigvedic period. So what happened to these assemblies in the later Vedic period? Very simple, understand this. What was the duty of the Sabha in the Rigvedic period? It was a council of tribal elders. And the main duty of the Sabha was to elect the Rajan, isn't it? Now, the Sabha's character changed to that of a cabinet. So the Sabha's character changed to that of a cabinet. So the king could choose who is going to advise him. So the king chose his ministers and they became his cabinet members. So it was like a kitchen cabinet of the president of America, right? So Sabha was like that. He could choose. So the Sabha became a cabinet of the king. Samiti disappeared. What was the duty of the Samiti in the early Vedic period? It was the general assembly of the tribe, and the main duty of the Samiti was to elect the Rajan. Now the Samiti disappeared because no more election of the Rajan took place. It was hereditary. Kingship became hereditary. So the king was not elected. Therefore, there was no work for the Samiti. Samiti disappeared. What was the Vidata? It was redistribution of war booty. In the Rigvedic period, the Vidata redistributed the war booty. So here Vidata also disappeared and Gana also disappeared. So the character of the Sabha changed to that of a cabinet. Are you there with me? Clear? Hello? Are you there with me? Clear? Okay, thank you. Right. Now, Women, I'll come to this. Women lost their importance. Earlier in the Sabha and the Vidata, women could attend the meetings. They were given representation. Now, um, women lost their importance because of certain corruptions which crept into the society. We'll come to that. Like sati became common, sati was practiced, dowry became common, child marriages came into existence. So all these things happened. Why? Simply because of the concept of private property. Understand this. Once agriculture becomes the main occupation, private property, the concept of private property came into existence. So here the desire was to maintain the private property within the family, right? So here the daughters are married off at an early age. The daughters are married at the marriageable age also came down. So look here, the marriageable age. What was the marriage? So earlier, what was the marriageable age in the Rig Vedic period for a girl? 16 years after puberty. In the later Vedic period, the marriageable age was reduced to 8 years. And we have something called Upanayana ceremony. Upanayana. What is Upanayana? That is Yagnopavit. That is a thread ceremony. Upanayanam or thread ceremony, sacred thread ceremony. So, so the earlier girls also were allowed to wear the sacred thread, but then Upanayana age was reduced to 8 years, and the marriage also was reduced to 8 years. So the marriageable age for a girl, marriage age for a girl became 8 years. So obviously, she automatically lost the privilege of wearing the sacred thread. She was married off at a young age. So when she is married off at a young age, she loses education. She loses education automatically, right? Secondly, what is the qualification for performing sacrifices in the later Vedic period? One is a person should have undergone the Upanayana ceremony. So thread ceremony should have been done, and thread ceremony marks the beginning of Vedic studies. So that person should have knowledge of Vedas. So Upanayana should have been performed. Upanayana is a thread ceremony where uh, the person begins his education, formal education. So after the thread ceremony, the parents take that boy to the Gurukul, where there's a guru there. So it's like a residential school. So the boy is left there, and for 12 years, he's supposed to be there with the teacher. Boarding, lodging facilities will be taken care by the teacher. Of course, the parents would make some donations. The king would make some donations to the guru, to the ashram of the guru. So qualification for performing sacrifices in the later Vedic period, where number one is Upanayana ceremony. That person should be wearing a sacred thread, and number two is that he should have knowledge of Vedas, and secondly, he should have property. That person who wants to perform sacrifice should own property. Now, look here, understand this. The girl is married off at the age of 8 years. So here, obviously, child marriages come into existence. Child marriages come into existence. So once the girl is married off, she goes away to another family, right? So automatically she loses not only education, that is the right to wear Upanayana, she also loses property because she's married off and sent to her husband's house. So she is no more the property of her parents. She is somebody else's property, some other family's property. So obviously, the position of the girl plummeted down, right? So child marriages come into existence. Sati comes into existence. Sati is what? If the husband dies, the girl is also supposed to die in the funeral pyre of the husband. So sati comes into existence. Then widow remarriages are discouraged. Widow remarriage is discouraged. So if a girl becomes a widow, she has to remain a widow till she dies. So widow remarriages come into existence. Dowry comes into existence. Dowry comes into existence. So the main, I would say, the main culprit here is the private property. Once Aryans took to agriculture, and agriculture becomes their main occupation, and the concept of private property came into existence to maintain the private property, to keep the private property within the family fold. all the position of the girl drastically deteriorated, and all this and society became corrupt, right? So here the Rigvedic society was much more liberal when compared to the society of the later Vedic period. So this is the connection. Did you get me here? Hello. Okay. So here, we have seen this later Vedic period. Sabha. So here we look at the assemblies. So Sabha's character changed that of a cabinet. The concept of there's a reference to Rashtra. Rashtra means territory. So Janapada is also territory. Rashtra is also state or territory as such. So that comes into existence. We have a regular taxation machinery. Taxes and tributes were deposited with an officer called Sangrahitri. Right, and the Purohita perform many sacrifices to enhance the power of the king. Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, Vajapeya. So here, what is the reason? What is the reason for the emergence of kingdoms in the later Vedic period? Please understand this. What is the reason for the emergence of kingdoms? One is the settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin. Indo-Gangetic basin. This is number one. So what happened when you have a settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin? What was the main occupation? Agriculture. Understand this. I'm giving you the reasons for the rise of kingdoms. Why did kingdoms come into existence in the later Vedic period? One is settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin. So agriculture becomes the main occupation. So when you engage in agriculture, you have a surplus generated. Surplus food is generated. So when a surplus food is generated, the food is stored, population increases. When population increases, you have a kingdom coming into existence. So tribal communities were transformed into villages, cities came into existence, and civilizations happened. So here slowly we have the emergence of kingdoms because you have more population living in these territories. So this is the connection, right? Settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin. Then amalgamation of tribes. Amalgamation of tribes. Like, for example, what is amalgamation of tribes? For example, look here. What are the two most important tribes in the Rigvedic period? Bharatas and Purus. These are the two most important tribes in the Rigvedic period. They joined together. They joined together to form Kuru. So when Bharata and Puru tribe came together, they formed Kuru. For example, let's say Bharata tribe had a population of 10,000. Okay, 10,000. And the Puru tribe population is, let us say, 8,000. So when they joined together, they formed Kuru state or Kuru kingdom, which had a population of, let us say, 18,000. I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. The population would have been much more. But then this is how states came into existence. So settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin, agriculture became the main occupation there. So surplus food was generated, more mouths could be fed, population increased, and kingdoms came into existence. Amalgamation of tribes, when two or more tribes came together. Similarly, we have the Panchala tribe. Panchala tribe was a combination of five tribes. When five tribes came together, we have the Panchala tribe. Later, what happened is Kuru and Panchala joined together. So you have the Kuru and Panchala kingdoms joining together. And Kuru Panchala had Hastinapur as their capital. Hastinapur, that is around Delhi. Indraprastha was the most important city. So Hastinapur, became the capital of the Kuru Panchala kingdom. So this is how it happened, right? Did you get me? Hello? I'm not audible? Am I not audible? Savina? Yeah, Savina, maybe there is a problem from your end. Check it up, please. Yeah, Sham, that is true. These places have been taken from Mahabharata. Mahabharata was also written in the later Vedic period, isn't it? That is also one of the source of information for the study of the later Vedic period. Okay, so just hold on. So here, So civilization was spreading from west towards the east, and you have the earliest cities of the later Vedic period, Hastinapur and Kaushambi. People spread to east, Koshala, Videha, right? So this is so you can see here settled life in the Indo-Gangetic Basin, amalgamation of tribes. So tribal identities merged into territorial identities. Similarly, five tribes came together. So Bharatas and Purus formed Kurus. These five tribes, Turvasa, Srinjaya, Krivi, Keshin, etc., formed the Panchala tribe. So we have the early kingdoms of the later Vedic period. So towards the end of the later Vedic period, we have small kingdoms coming into existence, like the Kuru kingdom, which was ruled by the Paurava dynasty, capitals Asandivant, Hastinapur. Indraprastha was an important city of the Kuru kingdom. Similarly, Magadha region, present-day Bihar, Magadha, capital was Rajagriha and later Patliputra. And Magadha was ruled by the Bharadvada dynasty and later the Haryanka dynasty. Similarly, we have other kingdoms like Koshala, Gandhara, Kamboja, Vidarbha in present-day Maharashtra, Gujarat region, Matsya, Rajasthan, capital was Viratanagara, that is present-day Jaipur. So these are some of the early kingdoms which came into existence during the later Vedic period, and some of these kingdoms were ruled by philosopher kings. That is, these kings were not only brilliant and also great warriors, but also they patronized scholars. So I have put a chart for your convenience. For example, Mithila, Mithila kingdom was ruled by Janaka, and Janaka patronized Yagnavalkya. So Janaka is the father of Sita Mata, Sita, the Rama's wife in Ramayana story, isn't it? So Janaka patronized Yagnavalkya. Similarly, Kashi ruled by Ajatashatru, and Ajatashatru patronized Balaki Gargaya. Similarly, Kekaya kingdom ruled by Ashwapati. Udalaka Aruni was the one whom he patronized. So these are the philosopher kings, right? So democracy was replaced by autocracy. Rituals greatly enhanced the power of the king. I have explained all these things. There was enormous increase in state expenditure, and the king's share was 1/6. That was the earliest tax collected by the kings of India. That is called Bhaga, right? And we have 12 ministers assisting the king. These are the 12 ministers: Sangrahitri, treasurer; Kshata, chamberlain; Stapati, that is governor or chief justice; Vakkabhumika, inspector of cow pens; Purapati, in charge of forts and cities; Mahishi, chief queen; Gramani, in charge of a village, etc. So these are the 12 ministers who assisted the king in the discharge of his duties. We have Swarajya and Vairajya were the republics of this period. Generally, we had monarchies, but we also have references to republics. Swarajya and Vairajya were the republics of the later Vedic period, right? So this is about later Vedic polity. So geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans and later Vedic polity. We'll take a small break, 10 minutes break. I'll not give you 15 minutes today. We'll take a 10 minutes break because some people have lost time earlier, and I'll continue. So just come back after 10 minutes and I'll continue. Is it all okay? Fine. Kuru Panchala. Roshan, Kuru Panchalas joined to form Kuru Panchala kingdom. Okay, right. So 10 minutes break and we'll come back. Good morning once again. Can we begin? Are you able to hear me clearly? See me also? Can we continue? Hello, all of you. Dipankar, Ravindra Babu, thank you. Himanshu, all clear. Zeba, please understand this. If the see the thing is how maintaining private property will lead to early marriage of women. So the point is this, understandable. If the girl comes of age, if she becomes mature, she becomes an adult, then she'll have her own brains, she'll have her own thinking, and she might ask for a share in the parental property. So if you get her married off early, then she's very innocent, she doesn't know anything, and then she moves away into another family, right? So that's how it is. Sir, can you give us an overview of what we are discussing? Because I was not able to access the class. So, Sachin, I was discussing the later Vedic period. I finished with the Rig Vedic period. I discussed the geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans, the political structure of the Rig Vedic Aryans, society, economy, and religion. Then I came to later Vedic period. It is called later Vedic period because the main source of information is the later Vedic literature, like Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharvaveda, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc. So that is why it is called as later Vedic period, because later Vedic literature gives information about the later Vedic period, a period of 400 years. So from these books, what information do we get about the geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans? What was their political structure like, society, economy, religion, etc. So that's what I have discussed till now. I have discussed geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans and the later Vedic polity. So in the later Vedic polity, chiefdom gave place to kingdom. The concept of a territory came into existence simply because the Aryans had taken to agriculture. So agriculture becomes their main occupation. We have the coming into existence of kingdoms, okay, in the Indo-Gangetic basin, and civilization was expanding from west towards the east, right? And most of them were monarchies, some were republics. There was enormous power in the increase in the powers of the king. King was assisted by a group of 12 officers, or a bureaucracy came into existence, a regular bureaucracy. They're called Dwadasha Ratnins. The Purohita performed sacrifices to enhance the power of the king, like Ashwamedha, Rajasuya, Vajapeya, etc. Regular taxation machinery comes into existence. Bhaga was the earliest tax collected by the kings of India, which was maximum 1/6, minimum 1/10, right? And this is what I have spoken about till now. So let us come to later Vedic society. Very interesting, later Vedic society. Now look here on your screen. Later Vedic period society. How was the society like? So in the Rig Vedic period, we have three Varanas, isn't it? Brahmana, Rajanya, and Vish. Now we have the Chaturvarna system coming into existence. Number one is Chaturvarna. Chatur is four. Chaturvarna. So what are the four Varanas? Chaturvarna system. Brahmana. Then Kshatriya or Rajanya. Vaishya and Shudra. So Chaturvarna system comes into existence. Society becomes rigid. Please understand, society becomes rigid. There is no more occupational division of society. Earlier in the Rigvedic period, based on a person's occupation, the society was divided. Now you have no more mobility amongst the occupation. So no mobility among the occupations. That is, if you are born into a varna, you remain in that varna. So if you're born as a brahmana into a brahmana family, then you do the duty of that particular varna. Either you are a teacher or a priest. Similarly, kshatriya remains in that varna. He cannot choose any other occupation except that of a kshatriya, that is warrior. Similarly, Vaishya and Shudra. and the Shudra is supposed to serve the upper three Varnas. So there was no mobility amongst occupation. Similarly, there was no more interdining, no interdining, no more intermarriages also. No intermarriages amongst the Varnas. So society becomes rigid. You have gender and social discrimination. So we have social discrimination, as well as gender discrimination. Gender discrimination, right? This is number one. Number two is we have corruptions which came into the society. Corruptions like sati, then dowry, child marriages. So all these came into existence. Widow remarriage was discouraged. Widow remarriage was discouraged. Women also lost the right of education. Why? Because of the concept of child marriages. Once child marriages came into existence, the girl was married off at a very young age and sent away. So obviously, she automatically lost education. So women were denied education, and that led to the exploitation of women. The society began to oppress the women, exploit the women because she had no property rights. She had no property rights, and she was not educated. So she was at the mercy of the male members. So therefore, so it led to the degradation of the position of women. Right? This is number two. Number three is we have something called Dvija concept which came into existence. What is this Dvija? Dvija means twice born. Twice born. Right? Yeah. So for what was dowry practice? Yeah, it has the support staff has explained. Dowry was basically stridhana. That is, the parents will give some amount of money to the daughter at the time of her marriage for emergency purpose, for her own keeping, so for self keep. But later it got distorted, and it was this practice got distorted, and it was asked as a matter of right, and the male members, the groom and his family members, became more and more greedy. So Dvija, what is Dvija here? Please understand. Dvija means twice born. So here, what is the meaning of twice born? Now, we have the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, and the Vaishya boy. Brahmana, Kshatriya, and the Vaishya boy. Now, the boys of these three Varnas were performed Upanayana. Upanayana is what? Thread ceremony. So it's called Yagnopavit. Janehu. In North India, it's called Janehu. In South India, it's called Upanayanam. It's a Sanskrit word, basically. So what was the minimum marriageable, what was the minimum age for Upanayana? For a Brahmin boy, it was 8 years. At the age of 8 years, the Brahmin boy will be made to wear a sacred thread. So there's a ceremony performed, after which he will be made to wear this sacred thread. For the Kshatriya boy, 11 years. And for the Vaishya boy, 12 years. So this was fixed. Brahmana, 8 years, Kshatriya boy, 11 years, and Vaishya boy, 12 years. Now, what is the meaning of Dvija here? Dvija means twice born. So it was believed in the Vedic knowledge, Vedic literature, that until the Upanayana ceremony is performed, a person is not fully human. He is only half animal and half human. So when a person is born, he is not fully human. He is half human. When does he become fully human? After the Upanayana ceremony. So this is performed at the age of 8 years for the Brahmin boy, for the Kshatriya boy 11 years, and for the Vaishya boy 12 years. So they become fully human only after this ceremony. And this also marks the beginning of education. So the Brahmana boy is taken to a Gurukul. Is taken to a Gurukul where there's a teacher there, a sage there, an ascetic there, and he is left there by the parents for the boy to pursue his education. Similarly, the Kshatriya boy is taken to the Gurukul at the age of 11 and Vaishya boy at the age of 12. Now, there is the women, the girl, the women and Shudra were denied education. They cannot wear the Upanayana. Why the girl lost the right of wearing Upanayana? Because of child marriage. So because of child marriage, automatically she loses Upanayana, Upanayana thread ceremony. And by default, she loses also education, because without Upanayana, she cannot pursue education. And also she loses property because because of child marriage. And Shudra also was not given the right to wear the Upanayana. Now, these two sections of the society came to be called Ekajas. Ekajas, not Dvijas, but Ekajas. Now, in the later Vedic period, we have a Dvija's life. Did you understand till now? A Dvija's life was divided into 4 sections. A Dvija's life was divided into 4 parts. And this is called ashrama system. Ashrama system. And what was the reason as to why the ashrama system was brought into existence? To fulfill the purusharthas. Purusharthas. What is purusharthas? Aims of life. Aims of life. Now, what are the aims of life? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. This is known as the purusharthas. Dharma, righteousness. Artha, gaining wealth. Kama is satisfying one's desires, including sexual gratification, sexual desires. And moksha is, freedom from rebirth. Moksha literally means freedom from rebirth. Freedom from rebirth. Now look here. Dvija's life was divided into 4 parts. This is called ashrama system. So what are the 4 ashramas? Number 1, brahmacharya. Brahmacharya ashrama. Brahmacharya ashrama. That is student life. Student life. So the boy, I told you, the Brahmin boy is enrolled into the Gurukul at the age of 8 years. The Kshatriya boy at the age of 11 years, and the Vaishya boy at the age of 12 years. So for a minimum period of 12 years, they are supposed to stay there in the Gurukul. So this is the beginning of student life. After the Upanayana ceremony, the Brahmacharya ashrama starts, student life starts. So whatever the teacher tells the students are supposed to learn. And generally vocational education was imparted. That is what education will help that student in his future life. The Brahmana student will be taught only those subjects which will help him to become either a teacher or a priest. The Kshatriya student will be taught Kshatriya lessons, whatever is required for a warrior to be learned or to be taught. Then Vaishya boy will be taught only those subjects which will help him in his profession of a trader. Right. So this is called student life. After the student finishes his education, there is one ceremony called Samavartana. Samavartana ceremony. So this is a ritual bath. He has finished his education. So there's a ritual bath and there's a send off given by the teacher, and the student can give the guru a guru dakshina. He can give him a guru dakshina. This is called Samavartana ceremony. Then he starts his next life. Brahmacharya, then Grihastha, Grihastha ashrama. Now, please understand, in the state, in the brahmacharya ashrama, his duty is to be a good student and learn the lessons seriously, properly, take it seriously and learn his lessons and fulfill his dharma, the dharma of a student, right? So that is one. Second is grahastha, that is the householder's life. Householder's life, that is, he is married off. Once he comes back, he is married off to a girl, obviously, and he starts his family life. And within the institution of marriage, so he is married off, and within the institution of marriage, he has to fulfill his three other purusharthas. That is dharma, artha, kama. So dharma is doing the duty of a husband, earning wealth from the family, artha, because he's now no more single. He has a wife, and in soon he'll have children, and he has to earn wealth to maintain himself and his family. So he has to do the duty of a husband and also earn wealth for the family and for himself. And within the institution of marriage, he has to satisfy his desires, including sexual gratification. So this is grihastha ashrama. Third is vanaprastha, vanaprastha, vanaprastha ashrama, partial retirement. Will we be having Samavarta ceremony, Himanshu? Yeah, but for that you have to give me Guru Dakshina. Then we can have it. Okay, vanaprastha. Okay, on the lighter note, we'll come back here. So here, so vanaprastha. What is this vanaprastha? Partial retirement. I've said here. You see, let's say the Brahmana boy has got married about, let us say, 10 years back. So he's got about a dozen children, or let us say he's got about 8, 9 children in these 10 years, and they're eating his head. Wife is always shouting at him. Children are always demanding a lot of things from him, including attention. So he's got fed up with all these things. So what he does is he goes away to the forest. It's like a sabbatical for him, a temporary respite, a sabbatical. So he'll go away to the forest for a few months, and he'll stay there in the forest. Now, during this is called vanaprastha, partial retirement. So then, in this period, I believe the wife can go and meet the husband in the forest. So she can take her children and go to the forest. Come, will let us have a look at the father, what he's doing. But then they cannot have sexual relations during this period of vanaprastha. So she can meet him along with the children and come back. Okay, provided he is within meeting distance. And the fourth is complete retirement. That is called sannyasa. Sannyasa ashrama. Sannyasa ashrama, that is complete retirement. Complete retirement, right? That is, he has fulfilled all his responsibilities. He's married off his children. Let us say his wife is no more, or she may still be there. So sannyasa is complete retirement. He goes away from the house, never to return back. So he will go somewhere in the forest. He will live a secluded life. He'll put up a small hut there, let us say, and then he'll engage in meditation and such things to attain moksha. Moksha is what? Freedom from rebirth. What is the meaning of this? Moksha is, when we are born on this earth, we have to go through the ups and downs of life. Everybody, rich or poor, have to go through the ups and downs of life. We'll have a lot of problems. So the ultimate aim of a dvija is to attain moksha, that is, not be reborn on this earth and always be in heaven, so that he can enjoy all the heavenly luxuries and life of what is available in heaven. So this is called moksha, sannyasa ashrama, moksha. So these are the 4 ashramas meant for a dvija. Brahmacharya, not meant for the dvija, mind you, not for everybody, only for the dvija. Twice born, Brahmana boy, Kshatriya boy, Vaishya boy. No ashrama system for the Shudra. Shudra can only enjoy Grihastha ashrama. Shudra can only enjoy Grihastha ashrama, no other ashramas. No brahmacharya, no vanaprastha, no sannyasa. He can only enjoy Grihastha ashrama. And obviously, women could also not enjoy these 4 ashramas because the girl is married off at a very young age and sent off. Are you there with me? Where does he roam during Vanaprastha? In the forest. Okay, provided, and if he survives, provided no wild animal kills him or attacks him, and he survives, then he's good to go. He can come back and again start his be with his family. Vanaprastha. Sir, does Dvija starts after Upanayana? No, no. Yeah, Dvija starts after Upanayana. Once the thread ceremony is performed, he becomes fully human. He is again reborn. Okay, that is the meaning of Dvija. Twice born, reborn again. Sham, don't worry about that. Sham is asking who will feed his wife if he is in the forest. He would have made arrangements before he goes away to the forest for Vanaprastha. So, Sham, thanks for your concern, but he would have been concerned about that also. He would have taken care of that, made some savings and kept some provisions till he comes back. Okay. I hope you're enjoying this. Huh? Then we'll come to a much more spicy aspect of this relative Vedic society, marriages. There were 8 forms of marriages. Interestingly, look here, 8 forms of marriages. 8 forms of marriages. 8 forms of marriages. No, what are the 8 forms of marriages? We have Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya. Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya. These are called approved forms of marriages. Approved forms of marriages meant for only the Brahmins. Brahmanas, meant for only the Brahmanas, approved forms of marriages. So, what is Brahma marriage? Are you there with me, all of you? What is Brahma marriage? Brahma marriage is so food habits during a later Vedic period, food habits, um, vegetarian food, and also, gradually agriculture becomes the main occupation. So there was, of course, people would also eat non-veg, whoever wanted to eat. But then generally, there was a rapid decline in the number of sacrifices because agriculture required cattle. Zeba, he will go for sannyasa alone or with his wife. No, he doesn't want to take his wife. He will go alone. Sannyasa is complete retirement. He will abandon his wife or leave her behind if she is alive, and the children, and he'll go away to the forest, never to come back. Now, Brahma marriage. Now look here, what is Brahma marriage? Marriage of a duly dowered girl with all the necessary rituals. That's called Brahma marriage. So, what is Brahma marriage? So there is a girl. Let's say there's a girl, and she has her parents, and the girl is of marriageable age. So the parents of that girl think that the parents of the girl will choose a right boy for her. So I'll go to the PPT here directly, and we'll come back here. So look here on your screen, Brahma marriage. So marriage of a duly dowered girl. Marriage of a duly dowered girl. What is duly dowered girl? Naturally gifted girl. By consent of parents with all the necessary rituals. Most ideal form of marriage. So here, naturally gifted is she is good looking. She knows how to respect the elders. She is very affectionate towards the children. She takes care of the household. She knows how to cook, etc., etc. So this is Brahma marriage. So the parents of that girl will choose a appropriate boy for that girl, for their daughter, thinking that this is the right boy for our daughter, and they will get her married with all the necessary rituals. That's called Brahma marriage. Interesting. This is number one. Then we have Daiva marriage. What is Daiva marriage here? Daiva marriage. The father gives the girl in marriage to a priest, has dakshina, or in place of dakshina. That's the meaning of Daiva. The father gives a daughter in marriage as dakshina or in lieu of dakshina to the priest. So let me give an example. What is Daiva marriage? Let's say there's a father. Okay, there's a man called A, and he has got a daughter. A has a daughter, and let's say he has called some priests to his house for some puja, for some rituals or for some sacrifice. So there are about 7, 8 priests who come, and one among them catches the attention of the father. So he is a young priest, good-looking fellow, okay, tall, dark, handsome, whatever it is, he is a good-looking fellow, and the father notices that boy, calls him, talks to him, asks his name, and he'll ask him, "Are you single? Are you ready to mingle?" So he says, "Yes, sir, I'm very much single." So he'll tell the boy, "I have a daughter. Would you be interested in marrying her?" And he'll call the girl from inside with a glass of milk or water, whatever. And the boy will look at the girl will look at the boy, and then the girl will go inside into the room, and then he will ask the boy, "This is my daughter. Would you like to marry her?" So the boy might say yes, and then he'll ask the girl also whether she would like to marry him. So she might be shy and smile, and then the father understands that she's also interested. So these priests have come to perform some puja ritual in his house. So instead of giving dakshina or fees to that priest, he will give his daughter in marriage to the priest, and he'll get her married and send her off. That is called daiva. Are you there with me? This is called daiva marriage. Daiva marriage is a kind of approved form of no. There's no intercaste here, Himani. Here, this is only meant for the Brahmins. These 4 marriages are more meant only for Brahmins. Okay, so the boy has to be inevitably a Brahmana. Daiva is, did you understand Daiva marriage? Okay, right. Now, are you there with me? Can I go on? Daiva marriage. So Brahma marriage, Daiva marriage. Then we come to Arsha. What is Arsha marriage? Arsha marriage is the boy, the groom, the bridegroom presents a cow and a bull. He presents a cow and a bull as bride price to the girl's parents, and he marries the marries the girl and brings her. This is called Arsha. So cow and a bull is given by the groom as bride price to the girl's parents, to the girl and her parents, and then he marries the girl and brings her. That is called Arsha. Third form of approved marriages meant for the Brahmins. And the last is Prajapatya. That is, the father gives a girl in marriage without giving dowry or without demanding bride price. Neither does he give a dowry to the boy, neither does he demand a bride price. So he'll perform the marriage without giving dowry or without accepting bride price. Okay, that is called Prajapatya. So Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya. Are you there with me? Can Brahmins choose any type of marriage form? Any of these 4. Dhyana, any of these 4 are meant for the Brahmins. Okay? Interesting. Are you there with me? Arsha Naveen. Arsha marriage is the groom, the bridegroom, the boy who's going to get married will give a bride price, cow and a bull. 1 cow, 1 bull he'll give. To whom? To the girl and her parents. Then he'll marry the girl and bring her. That is called Arsha. Brahma marriage, Naveen, Anita, Brahma marriage is the Brahmin parents have a girl, and that girl is naturally gifted. She has all the good qualities. She's good looking. She's well behaved, well mannered. She knows how to cook. She takes care of the household very well. So the girl has come of marriageable age, and the parents feel that they'll choose a boy. This boy is the right boy for our daughter, and with all the necessary rituals, they'll get that girl married to that boy with all the necessary rituals and perform the marriage. That is called Brahma marriage, considered to be the most ideal form. Okay, Sham, I'll just hold on. This is 8 forms of marriages. I'll come to you. I'll answer your doubts in some time. Then we have other forms of marriages meant for other people, other varnas. Gandharva marriage. Gandharva marriage is meant for the Kshatriyas. Love marriage. Okay, so Gandharva marriage. Meant for Kshatriyas, I believe. So Kshatriya marriage, like for example, you have Shakuntala who got married to Dushyant in the Gandharva style of marriage. Do you know the story of Shakuntala? Hello, students, do you know the story of Shakuntala? Yes or no? Okay, some of you know, some of you don't know, most of you know. So let me tell you a story. Okay, let me tell you the story of Shakuntala, Abhignana Shakuntala. The Shakuntala story was written by Kalidasa in the Gupta period. Kalidas, Abhignana Shakuntala. That is, what is the meaning of Abhignana Shakuntala? The recognition of Shakuntala. It means the recognition of Shakuntala. The story goes like this. I'll not take much time. This is just to explain Gandharva marriage. The story goes like this. There was a sage. His name was Vishwamitra. So there was a sage called Vishwamitra, and he wanted to be a Brahma Rishi. That is the topmost of all the rishis, a topmost ascetic or sage. So he was performing a penance. No, he was doing tapas or penance. Vishwamitra. Now he wanted to be a Brahma Rishi, so he was performing this penance. And Indra is always afraid of these sages because Indra feels that these sages might appease the Trimurtis, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. And if they appear before these sages, they might ask as a reward, and in return, they might ask for Brahma Lok. Sorry, Indra Lok. They might ask Indra Lok as a reward. So Indra is always afraid of losing his seat. So what he did is Indra wanted to disturb Vishwamitra. He sent Menaka, one of his apsaras, heavenly nymph. So Menaka comes before Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra is in the forest doing penance. He's closed his eyes and he's deep in meditation. And Menaka comes and does some item numbers. She will do some dance and all that, and she'll disturb him. So Vishwamitra unfortunately opens his eyes and he sees Menaka, the heavenly nymph, and he has never seen such a beautiful girl anywhere in his life, anytime in his life. And he falls in love with Menaka. He forgets about his penance, and they get married according to the Gandharva way. That is, Gandharva is love marriage. And he starts a family with her. The daughter born to Vishwamitra and Menaka is Shakuntala. Shakuntala. The daughter born to Vishwamitra and Menaka is Shakuntala. Now, what happens? So he's enjoying his family life with Menaka and Shakuntala, and a few years pass by, 3, 4 years pass by, and then he realizes, "Arey, maine kya kar diya? I was going towards London. How did I land up in Japan?" So he realizes that this is the trick of Indra. Indra has purposely sent Menaka to disturb him. So he's very wild with Menaka, and he shouts at Menaka. He shouts at Menaka, and then he goes away. He lives behind Menaka and Shakuntala, and he goes away to restart his penance. Now, what to do? Menaka takes Shakuntala, her daughter, and she goes to the forest. And she abandons this child, this baby girl, near an ashram. And this ashram belongs to Kanva Maharishi. So there's a rishi called Kanva. So around the ashram of Kanva, she abandons this child and she goes away to Indralok. So she rejoins Indralok, Menaka. Now, Kanva Maharishi, he is passing by the forest and he hears the cry of a baby. When he goes there, he sees this girl baby and he picks her up. And he calls her Shakuntala, because you have a type of bird called Shakuntala around there. They were a flock of birds called Shakuntala. So he calls her Shakuntala, and he brings her to the ashram. So Shakuntala becomes the foster daughter of Kanva. Okay. Now she is growing up in the ashram, and she has grown up to be a beautiful girl. She is in her teenage. She is very, very beautiful, and she has her friends with whom she is spending time there in the ashram of Kanva Maharishi. Then what happens? There's a king called Dushyanta. He is the king of that area, and he would have gone to the forest for hunting. And then one day he shoots at a deer. He shoots his arrow at a deer, and the deer gets wounded. And then it comes to the ashram. It's actually a deer belonging to the ashram. So the deer comes to the ashram, and following that deer, Dushyanta also comes into the ashram. And then he thinks, let me go and pay my respects to the saint, to the sage Kanva. So he enters the ashram and he's going towards the ashram, walking towards the ashram. And on the way, he accidentally dashes against Shakuntala. Shakuntala is wearing jasmine flowers on her body, on her hand, on her neck, etc. And a bee, honey bee, has caught her attention, and that honey bee was hovering around her head, attracted by the sweet smell of the jasmine flower. So she doesn't notice him. She is trying to shoo away the honey bee, and Dushyanta is looking this side and that side, and he comes and dashes against her. And then, of course, both see each other. They fall in love with each other. So he has never seen such a beautiful girl. She has never seen such a charming man. So they fall in love with each other. And Dushyanta comes to know that Kanva is not there. He's not there in the ashram. He's gone somewhere else. He's gone some on some duty. So he stays there in the ashram itself, and they get married according to the Gandharva way of marriage, right? So that is without the consent of the parents, they get married. That is called Gandharva way of marriage. Did you understand? So Dushyanta was the king of that area, Jagani. So foster daughter is not real daughter. He has adopted her daughter. The Shakuntala has his daughter. Can you continue? Should I continue the story? Yes or no? Or shall I continue my lesson? Okay. Yeah. Now look here. So what happens is, so some people want me to continue the story. So many of them you don't know. It's a very fantastic story. So the story goes like this: that they get married according to the Gandharva way, Dushyanta and Shakuntala, and he spends a few weeks there with her. Then times comes. So what is Gandharva marriage? Without the consent of the parents, the couple, the boy and the girl, will get married, and that also involves sexual relations. That also involves sexual relationship. Then what happens? Dushyanta realizes that he has other work in the kingdom because he's the king. He has got a lot of work, administrative work, etc. So he tells Shakuntala, I have to go back to the palace and take care of the kingdom. I will come back and I will uh, take you back to the palace. And as a memento, he gives her a ring. So he removes one ring from his fingers and he puts that ring into her fingers and tells her that he will come back after some time and he'll take her back to the palace. And he says Tata bye bye and goes away. Now what happens? Time passes by a few days, few weeks, and there's no news from Dushyanta. Dushyanta has got busy in his administrative work in the kingdom. Now, and Kanva is not there, and Shakuntala is thinking about Dushyanta. She's daydreaming about him, always thinking about him, and she's worried also that he has not contacted her. Then what happens is one day, one sage comes, Kanva's friend, Durvas, a short-tempered sage, comes to the ashram. He has come to meet his friend Kanva, and he sees Shakuntala. Shakuntala is sitting at the threshold and she's daydreaming about Dushanta. Okay. He calls out for her, Shakuntala, Shakuntala. And she is thinking of Dushanta and she is lost in her own thoughts. So she doesn't realize and doesn't hear him. So Durvasa is a short tempered sage. He gets very, very angry. He curses her. He puts a shrap on her. He curses her and tells, you have insulted me, right? He expected her to wash his feet, usher him inside, give him some, good treatment, fruits, etc., milk, etc. But nothing like that happens. So he feels insulted, and then what he does is he curses her. And what is a curse? He says, whomever you're thinking about, let that person forget you. Let that person forget you. Now, automatically, the curse works, and there Dushyanta has forgotten about Shakuntala. Memory has erased, and in his memory, Shakuntala has got erased. Now, then she comes to her senses, and then she falls at his feet and begs pardon. Please forgive me, sir. I did not do it deliberately. And please forgive me. You treat me as your daughter and take back your curse. So she pleads, cries before Dushanta's feet, and then Durvasa's feet. And Durvasa tells Shakuntala, okay, since you are begging so much, I will forgive you, but I cannot take back the curse. Once the curse has been given, it has to work. But I'll give you a concession. What's the concession? If that person happens to see a memento given by him to you, then he will remember you. So she thinks, "Arey, he has given me his ring. If I show the ring to Dushyanta, he'll remember me." So then she thanks Durvasa very much. She falls at his feet, and then Durvasa goes away. After some time, Kanva comes. Her foster father comes, and Shakuntala narrates the incident to Kanva. Tells Kanva, "I have got married according to the Gandharva way of marriage." So he is very happy. Those days, fathers were different. So he is very happy, and he blesses her and says, "You have chosen a good man. He is the king, and is a very honorable person. So I'm very happy for you, daughter." That's what he says. And after some time, Kanwa goes away. Now, then he comes back again, what happens is she is pregnant now. Shakuntala is pregnant, and Dushyanta has not come to take her back to the palace. So the father is worried. Everybody in the ashram is worried. So Kanwa decides, "Let me send my daughter Shakuntala to the palace myself." So he asks one of Shakuntala's friends to accompany her to the palace, drop her off at the palace, and come back. So Shakuntala is very happy that she's going to join her husband at last. So she, along with a friend, sits in a boat. They have to cross a river to go to the palace. So Shakuntala is sitting in the boat along with a friend, and the boatman is rowing. And Shakuntala is immersed in her thought of Dushyanta, and she is playing in the water. She's put her hands in the water, and she is playing in the water of the river. And without her notice, without her knowledge, the ring slips from her fingers and goes into the river. She doesn't realize it, that the ring has fallen off and slipped and fallen into the river. So they go to the palace, and then they're ushered in, and the news is somebody goes and tells the king that somebody from the ashram have come, Kanwa's ashram have come to meet him. So he calls them in, and he goes there. She goes there. Dushyanta has forgotten about Shakuntala because the curse has worked on him, so he cannot blame him. And she tries to revive his memory about them, about the relationship they had, etc. But he doesn't remember anything. Then she says, "Look, you gave me your finger. You should be able to remember that now. Remember me now." But this finger is missing from her. The ring is missing from her finger. So everybody laugh at Shakuntala. They make jokes about her, and she feels slighted. She feels insulted. So she comes back. But then Kanwa is very angry. Kanwa is very angry with her. He throws her out of the ashram, stating that she has lied to him and she has insulted him. So she is thrown out of the ashram, and she goes into the forest, and there she builds a small hut and she starts living there. And she gives birth to a baby, and that baby is Bharata, a young boy called Bharata. So she becomes a mother to a boy called Bharata. Time passes by. That ring which had gone into the river would have been swallowed by a fish. And one day, that fish is caught by a fisherman in his net, right? So he brings that fish home. He doesn't sell it in the market. It's a plumpy looking fish. He brings it home and asks his wife to clean the fish and make some meal out of it. So she cuts open the tummy of the fish to clean the fish, and out pops out the ring. She washes the ring and she notices the symbol of the king. So the emblem of the king on it. So she shows that ring to her husband, and he takes the ring and runs to the forest, runs to the palace, and shows Dushyanta the ring. He tells her that he found this ring in the fish's belly. Memory is restored. So once he sees the ring, the memory of Shakuntala is restored, and Dushyanta goes to the ashram. He comes to know that Kanwa had thrown Shakuntala out of the ashram. So he starts searching for Shakuntala in the nearby forest. And there he finds a boy, a young, cute looking boy, who has put both of his hands into the mouth of a tiger, and he's counting the it's a tiger cub. So he's counting the teeth of the tiger cub. He finds it very, very cute, and he asks this child, "Whose son are you? Who's your father? Whose son are you?" And the boy is supposed to have replied, "I am King Dushyanta's son." So then he asks the child, "Where is your mother?" So the child leads the father Dushyanta to his mother, that is Shakuntala, and there is a happy union. This is Abhignana Shakuntala, the recognition of Shakuntala, a story written by Kalidasa in the Gupta period. And this is considered to be the greatest work ever written in the history of Indian literature. And it is one of the masterpieces of world literature, not just India's literature but world literature. So this is Gandharva way of marriage, mentioned, which I was talking about, Gandharva marriage. Did you understand the story? Yeah, that is true, Surya. What you're saying is right. Right. So this is the imagination of Kalidasa. So Kalidasa's stories always end on a happy note, like Telugu movies. The hero never dies in Telugu movies. If the hero dies, the Telugu people will burn the theater. So hero cannot die. Heroine can die many times, but not the hero. Similarly, in Kalidasa's movies, Kalidasa's stories, it always ends on a happy note. Unlike Shakespeare's stories, like Hamlet, etc., where there is murder, ghosts, evil spirits, etc. In Kalidasa's stories, nothing like that is there. So Gandharva marriage by consent of the two parties, that is love marriage, without involvement of the parents. And Swayamvara was a special type of love marriage, special type of Gandharva marriage, like Sita Swayamvar. Sita had already given her heart to Ram, and when Ram came before her, she put the garland on his neck. That is called Swayamvara. This is meant for Kshatriyas, I believe, Gandharva marriage. Then Rakshasa marriage. What is Rakshasa marriage? Again meant for the Kshatriyas. Marriage by capture of the girl. Look here, marriage by capture of the girl, and I put a bracket. Girl willing. The girl is willing to be captured. So the boy wants to capture the girl, but the girl is also willing to be captured. That is called Rakshasa marriage. For example, stories: Krishna kidnapped Rukmini, and he married her. Krishna kidnapped Rukmini and married her, and Rukmini was also ready to run away with Krishna, elope with Krishna. That is called Rakshasa marriage. Similarly, you have the story of Prithviraj Chauhan, the Chauhan king of Chauhan, Prithviraj Chauhan, or Prithviraj III. He married Samyukta, the Gahadwala princess. But then Samyukta's father, Jayachandra, was the sworn enemy of Prithviraj. He did not like Prithviraj, Samyukta's father. But Samyukta was in love, head over heels for Prithviraj. So Prithviraj kidnapped her, and Samyukta ran away with him and married Prithviraj Chauhan and became his queen. That's a true story. Okay. So the Prithviraj Raso, Prithviraj Charitra, talks about all these things, written by Chand Bardai. When we do medieval India, we'll talk about it. So here, this is Rakshasa marriage, meant for Kshatriyas. Then Asura marriage. So here, Asura marriage is marriage by purchase of the groom or the bride, meant for Vaishyas. Okay, so this is marriage by purchase of either the groom or the bride, meant for Vaishyas. And lastly, Paisacha marriage by abduction, seduction, force, cheating, meant for the Shudras, I believe. So these are the 8 approved forms of marriages. There's 8 forms of marriages. First 4 are meant only for the Brahmins. Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya, meant only for Brahmins. And the other 4 meant for the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and the Shudras. So these are 8 forms of marriages in the later Vedic period. We also have 2 more, Anuloma and Pratiloma. So what is Anulom and Pratilom? So look here. Anulom and Pratilom. So here, if I put a chart, you'll be able to understand. So here, male, female. So what is Anulom? Anulom is a higher Varna man, let's say Brahmin, marrying a lower Varna woman, that is, for example, Shudra. And the children born to such a couple are called Vratyas, half fallen. Vratya, that is half fallen in society, half fallen. This is called Anuloma marriage. Higher Varna man marrying a lower Varna woman, or having relationship with her, not necessarily marriage, also having relationship with her. So the children, the progeny born to such a couple is called Vratya, half fallen. What is Pratilom? It is Ulta. The Ulta is a higher Varna, So man is a so here um, yeah. So higher varna man marrying a lower varna woman is called anulom, and pratilom is ulta. That is a higher varna man, a lower varna man marrying a higher varna woman, which is a rarity. So Shudra boy having relationship with a Brahmin girl. The child born to such a couple was called Chandala. Chandala, that is fully fallen in society, fully fallen. Very interesting. So this is called Anulom Pratilom. Okay, so keep that in mind. Yes, Dikshit, love marriage, Gandharva, I've already told you. Love marriage is Gandharva marriage. Gandharva marriage is love marriage. Love marriage. Fully fallen is fully fallen in the society. Chandala. So Chandalas were made to stay outside the precincts of the village. Shudra could stay within the village. Chandala has to stay outside the precincts of the village. So he was not considered to be part of the Varna system. He was outside the Varna system. So he's called Chandala. So as you can see here in the chart, Anuloma, there was no problem for a higher Varna man having relationship with a lower Varna woman. That was okay. So half fallen. And then Pratilom was not encouraged, where the lower Varna man can have relationship with a higher Varna girl. That was not encouraged. Okay, Anuloma was tolerable, not Pratiloma. Right. So this is later Vedic society. Then we come to later Vedic economy. So here it's very easy. Later Vedic economy, agriculture was the main occupation. Agriculture becomes the main occupation. It was no more pastoralism, and we have the fertile belt of the Indo-Gangetic Basin. Indo-Gangetic Basin aided agriculture because of the fertile soil. Iron facilitated deeper plowing. So when you engage in deeper plowing, you can have a bountiful harvest. So in the Rig Vedic period, wooden plows were used. Wooden plows were used. Wooden plows and plowshare. In the later Vedic period, iron plows and plowshare were used. And iron is called by different names: Krishna Aya, Shama Ayas, etc. So agriculture was a chief occupation. So we have rice cultivated during this period. Rice is called Vrihi, also called Sali and Tandula. So during the Rigvedic period, the Rigvedic Aryans did not have knowledge of rice, but rice or paddy was cultivated in the later Vedic period. And it is called Vrihi, Sali, Tandula. Um, of course, you have also wheat. Wheat was a chief crop. Wheat was a chief crop. Then we have cereals and pulses also cultivated. Cereals, pulses, and sugar cane. Sugar cane also was cultivated during the later Vedic period. You remember, Harappans had no knowledge of sugar cane. So till now, we don't have any evidence of the Harappans having the knowledge of sugar cane. So in the later Vedic period, sugar cane came to be cultivated along with cereals and pulses. Wheat was the main crop, and also rice. And depending upon the fertility of the soil, upon the fertility of the soil, land was divided into 5 categories. You can see here 5 types of land depending upon the fertility of the soil. Kshetra, most fertile land. Khila, wasteland. You could not grow anything on that, so it was called Khila or wasteland. Aprahata, forest land. Gapatasara, pasture land. Gapatasara is pasture land where you have grasslands where the cattle, sheep, etc. could go and graze. Vasti, habitable land where people would build their houses and stay. So depending upon the fertility of the soil and the land for which it was used, the purpose for which it was used, land was divided into 5 categories. Then we have specialization of crafts. These are all the craftsmen: carpenter, barber, medicine man, potter, hunter, etc. So you have specialization in crafts. Takshan was a carpenter, barber was called Vaptra or Vaptri, Bishaka was the medicine man, etc. So we have agrarian economy helped in the growth of trade and commerce. So so you have a surplus generated, and that aided trade and commerce. And we have the growth of cities. So the 6th century BC, towards the end of the later Vedic period, that is by 6th century BC, Slowly, cities were coming into existence. Towns and cities were coming into existence. For example, Hastinapur and Kaushambi. Hastinapur and Kaushambi were the earliest cities in the later Vedic period. They were the first cities to emerge. And what about the currency system? We have gold ornaments of fixed weight and value, not coins. So in the Rig Vedic period, there was no coinage. Cows, Nishka, Hiranyam Pindas, and Manas acted as the medium of exchange apart from the cow. In the later Vedic period, also, we have gold ornaments like Shatamana, Suvarna, Pada, Nishka, Krishnala. These were the gold ornaments which acted as medium of exchange, and there was no coinage even during the later Vedic period. Okay, so this is about later Vedic economy, and of course, iron was used. Iron was used during this period. In the later Vedic period, Aryans came to know about iron, and iron is called Shamaya or Krishna Ayas. So you have settlements in the later Vedic period. You can see here Kuru Panchala area, that is Western UP and Delhi, Madra area, Punjab and Haryana, Matsya, Rajasthan. So civilization was spreading from west to the east. Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, Eastern UP, Bihar. So that's how the civilization spread. And from the Indo-Gangetic basin, the civilization was spreading towards Western UP, Eastern UP, and Bihar. Right? So what about the religion of the later Vedic period? You see, the Rigvedic gods lost their importance. Rigvedic gods like Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, etc., lost their importance. They were reduced to the status of Ashtadikpalas. What is Ashtadikpala? The guardians of the eight directions. You can see here, these are the eight directions: north, south, east, west, northeast, southeast, like that. Totally eight directions. So the Rigvedic gods were reduced to the status of Ashtadikpalas, guardians of eight directions. And even now, they continue to occupy that position. They are the guardians of the eight directions. Then what happened in the later Vedic period with respect to religion? We have Trimurtis, the concept of Trimurtis coming into existence. That is Brahma, Prajapati Brahma, creator, Vishnu, protector, and Rudra, destroyer. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra, not Mahesh, not Shiva. The word Shiva becomes prominent from the Gupta period onwards. So Rudra, Pashupati Mahadeva of the Harappans became Rudra in the Vedic period, and from Rudra we have the emergence of the concept of Shiva. So in the later Vedic period, we have Trimurtis coming into existence. Prajapati Brahma, he was the creator, Vishnu was the protector, and Rudra was the destroyer. We have a separate god for the Shudras called Pushan. So he looked after cattle and he became a separate god for the Shudras, Pushan. Then you have emphasis given on elaborate rituals. So elaborate rituals and sacrifices. So importance was given to elaborate rituals and sacrifices of animals. So animals came to be sacrificed on a large scale. You have religion becoming complex, costly, and unintelligible. Unintelligible. Religion became complex, costly, and unintelligible. Complex because the emphasis was on elaborate rituals and sacrifices. Costly also because everybody could not afford these elaborate rituals and sacrifices of animals. And unintelligible because the instruction was in Sanskrit language. And Sanskrit was not the language of the masses, it was the language of the elite sections of the society, the Shishtas as they were called. It was not the language of the masses. So people could not understand the Vedic religion in the later Vedic period. In fact, the later Vedic religion was not able to provide spiritual satisfaction. It could not provide spiritual succor to the people. So religion became costly, complex, unintelligible. Emphasis was on elaborate rituals and sacrifices. That was not the case in the Rig Vedic period, as you know. It was a simple and materialistic religion. People prayed to gods, made some offerings of yava, that is wheat and barley, vegetables and fruits, and they asked in return praja, pashu, dhana. But here now, people were not asking for praja, pashu, dhana because all the material needs were taken care of. Food, clothing, shelter had been taken care of because agriculture was the main occupation. Earlier, they were nomads roaming around from one place to another place. So in the later Vedic period, agriculture had become the main occupation. So food, clothing, and shelter had been taken care of. So now we have religion becoming more speculative. Religion became speculative, and we have the concept of moksha coming into existence. What is moksha? Moksha is freedom from rebirth. Moksha is, that was the ultimate aim of a human being. It was considered to attain moksha. If we are born on this earth, we have to go through the ups and downs of life. Whether rich or poor, we have to have some suffering. If you're not at all born on this earth and you're always in heaven, that is called moksha. So the ultimate aim of a human being became moksha. This is later Vedic religion. Okay, so um, right then, of course, we have the monopoly of the Brahmanas. Earlier, the Brahmanas were only one of the 16 classes of priests, but then slowly they became more and more important. We have important priest, chief priest during the later Vedic period, Hotri. Hotri was the invoker. So you see, you have a Yagna Kund, Homa Kund. If this is the Yagna Kund and this is the fire coming out of the Yagna Kund, there are different priests doing different types of jobs. Like, for example, Hotri. Hotri invokes the gods and he recites hymns from the Rig Veda. The Hotri invokes the gods and he recites hymns from the Rig Veda. Then we have an Advaryu. He is the executor. So he will put things into the fire. Swaha, he'll make offerings into the fire, executor. So he recites hymns from the Yajur Veda. Then Udgatri, he is a singer. He only sings, chants the mantras. So he sings hymns from the Samaveda. And Brahmana is the overall supervisor of the Yagna. So we have, these are the chief priests. So remember them, Hotri, he was the invoker. He recited hymns from the Rig Veda. Then Advaryu recited hymns from the Yajur Veda. The Udgatri from the Samaveda. And the Brahmana was the supervisor. So this is about later Vedic period also. So this is a huge chapter and I have finished this chapter. Let us look at the questions which have come from this chapter. Look here on your screen, 2011 question. 2011 question. The Dharma and Rita depict a central idea of ancient Vedic civilization of India. In this context, consider the following statements. Dharma was a conception of obligation and of the discharge of one's duties to oneself and to others. So I spoke about Purusharthas. Dvija's life was divided into 4 sections: Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, and we have some aims of life or Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So Dharma was a conception of obligations and discharge of one's duties to oneself and to others. That is correct. Rita was the fundamental moral law governing the functioning of the universe and all it contained. So I told you, we have Varuna, the god Varuna, who is supposed to maintain the Rita or the cosmic order. That is the sun rising in the horizon at the right time, setting in the right time, moon coming out at the right time, all the oceans flowing at the same level without one ocean overflowing. So all those things are taken care by Varuna. So he's supposed to be the guardian of the Rita or the cosmic order. So that's what they're asking. So which of the statements are correct? Both are correct. 1 and 2 are correct. Then the religion, 2012, they've asked one question. The religion of early Vedic Aryans was primarily what? Was it bhakti? No, we had no concept of bhakti during those days. Image worship and yagnas? No, image worship was also not there. Worship of nature and bhakti? Worship of nature was there, but not bhakti. So the answer is worship of nature and yagnas, simple rituals. So this is the answer to the second question, 2012 question. Then we come to the next question. With reference to the difference between the culture of Rig Vedic Aryans and Indus Valley people, which of the following statements are correct? They're asking difference between Rig Vedic Aryans and Indus Valley people. The Rig Vedic Aryans used the coat of mail and helmet in warfare, whereas the people of the Indus Valley civilization did not leave any evidence of using them. So the first statement is correct. We have evidence of the Rig Vedic Aryans using helmet and coat of mail in warfare. In the scriptures, in the Vedic literature, we have references to that. So from that, we come to know this. But none of the Harappan sites reveal of any evidence of Harappans using helmet and coat of mail in warfare. Rig Vedic Aryans knew gold, silver, and copper. That is true. Whereas Indus Valley people knew only copper and iron. So look here, we know this. Harappans had no knowledge of iron. So therefore, this statement automatically becomes wrong. Clear? Correct, Surya, you're right. Rigvedic Aryans had domesticated the horse. That is true, whereas there is no evidence. Read the statements very carefully. There is no evidence of Indus Valley people having been aware of this animal. So we know this. We have discussed this yesterday. Harappans knew about the horse, but it was not extensively used. Horse bones have been found at Surkotada. So only one first statement is correct. Rest of the statements are wrong, right? Then we go to the next question. Match the following by using the codes given below. Vedas and authors. Rig Veda, you have the Hotri invoking hymns from the Rig Veda. That is correct. Udgatri recited hymns from the Sama Veda. Advaryu from the Yajur Veda. Brahmana from the Atharva Veda. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct. That's the right answer. Then we go to the next question. Match the following by using the codes given below. Ashwamedha Yaga to conquer the neighboring territories. Rajasuya Yaga to attain divinity, right? B3. Then Vajapeya Yaga to get the title of Samrat, drink of strength, right? Performed by a middle-aged king. And I told you, chariot race was the most important race or competition in the Vajapeya Yaga. Hiranyagarbha Yaga to commemorate a victory, to celebrate a victory. So the answer is B. Then we go to the next question. Which of the following is incorrectly matched? So this was a UPSC question asked. I could not get the year. So which of the following is incorrectly matched? So you should know the equivalent names of these rivers: Chenab, Asikini, Jhelum, Vitasta, Satluj, Satudri. Ravi is Parushni, not Vipasa. Ravi should have been Parushni. So therefore, this is the answer. The answer should right would be Parushni. So remember that. Then match the following by using the codes given below. Vrihi. Vrihi is what? Rice, isn't it? Yava, wheat and barley was called Yava. Aya, that is copper and bronze. And Langala was the plow. Okay, Langala was the plow. Sira or Langala was the plow. So the answer is, the Vrihi is rice. A4. Yava. Yava is wheat and barley. B3. C. Aya. Aya is what? Plow. And Langala is, so C is the answer for you, right? C1. Yeah, and Langala is 2, right? Now, match the following using the codes given below. Asura, Arsha, Rakshasa, Paisacha. So what is Paisacha marriage? Marriage by abduction. Okay, Rakshasa, Brahma Deva, Arsha, Praja. Rakshasa, marriage by capture, the girl willing to be captured, isn't it? So Arsha, that is the groom gives a bride price of a cow and a bull to the girl and her parents. And Asura, marriage by purchase, meant for the Vaishyas. Asura is marriage by purchase. So the answer is B. So look at the mains question. What are the main features of Vedic society and religion? 2023 question they've asked. What are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society? So they've asked this question. So you have to mention what are the main features of Vedic society. Can you participate in answering this question? What are the main features of Vedic society? Vedic society features. Yeah, hello. Vedic society. Okay, Varna system. So Vedic society, Varna system. Okay, very good. Homas. Society. We'll come to society first. Sabha, Samiti, marriage system, praying to nature, women condition. Very good. So Varna system is one. We have the 4 Varnas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Right, Varna system is there. Then of course family, you can take care of, look at the family. Family was the basic unit of the society, isn't it? It was a paternalistic society, right? And father was the head of the house. Okay, paternalistic society. And of course it was a joint family system was there. What else? 4 purusharthas, 4 ashramas. Okay, so we have the Dvija concept. Dvija concept was there, and ashrama system was there. Very good. ashrama system, right? Caste based on profession. That is true. Um, that is true. So you can mention that occupation based, not birth based, not caste based, right? Then of course we have a language. Language was Sanskrit. Language was Sanskrit, right? Then of course marriage. Generally, monogamy was preferred. Monogamy was preferred. Language was Sanskrit. Occupation-based society. Dija's life was divided into four ashramas. Um, Family was the basic unit with joint family and paternalistic society. Yeah, these are pretty much the features of society. What about religion? What about religion? So you have Vedic religion. So here it was dependent upon the Vedas. Okay, Veda, which was dependent upon the Vedas. So source of Vedic religion are the Vedas. That is true. Then we have um, uh, polytheism. Polytheism, worship of many gods, and nature. So how do I put it? Natural polytheism. Uh, It was a naturalistic religion, naturalistic polytheism. So nature was worshipped, and polytheism is worship of many gods like Indra, Agni, Soma, Varuna, etc. Emphasis was on rituals and sacrifices, isn't it? Emphasis was on rituals and sacrifices. Uh, so these are pretty much the aspects of Vedic religion. Um, Emphasis was on religion, rituals, and sacrifices. Um, Now they're asking, what are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society? So, of course, many of the practices are still prevailing in the present day society. What are the practices which we can cite prevailing in Indian society? It is even now a patriarchal society to a large extent. Father is the head of the house, right? At least with respect to religious and cultural affairs. Father continues to be the head of the house. Patriarchal society. It's a patrilineal society. Indian society is patrilineal. Descendants from the father's side. That is true, right? Then um, generally it is exogamous in nature. So we have, of course, Varanas have become castes. It's a caste-based society. Caste-based society, and we have exogamy. Exogamy is marrying within one's caste. So marrying within one's caste, that is the preferable, that is preferred, right? Of course, things are changing, but then to a large extent, that is there. Then what else can you mention? Some of the just the prevalence in Indian society. Patriarchal society is one, caste-based society is another. Then marriage. So you have sacraments. You have 16 samskaras. Even though 16 samskaras are followed amongst the Hindus, like for example, you know, birth ceremony. Birth ceremony is there. Birth ceremony, a tonsure ceremony, chuda karana, tonsure ceremony. Then anna prasana, the first solid food. Anna prasana, solid food given to a baby. First outing, first outing. The first child is first taken out of the house for the first time to see the sunlight. Then we have marriage ceremony. Vedaramba, Vidyaramba ceremony. Upanayana is even now performed. Upanayana among the Brahmins and many other communities. That is there. So many of the 16 samskaras are even now there, right? Um, yeah, so these are some of the features still existing in Indian society. Of course, we need to weed out the negative aspects. There were many things which were not good in the Vedic society, like sati existed. Sati has been outlawed long time back. Then, of course, widow remarriage was discouraged in the later Vedic period. Widow remarriage should be encouraged in the present times. Child marriages were removed long time back. So all these corruptions, uh, minus these corruptions, we should encourage only the good things, including education to women. Education was denied during the later Vedic period, but education to women is now encouraged. So all these things you can end it on a positive note. So this is pretty much the so end it on a positive note. In the conclusion, you mentioned that many of the negative aspects of Vedic society and religion should not be followed, and we should only adopt the positive aspects of the Vedic society, and it continues to be adopted even now. So, Zeba, you have to write. You can write both. Nothing wrong in that. But then you also have to stick to the word limit. Keep the word limit into consideration. So, how was the Vedic society? How was the later Vedic society? You can write that. But then they're asking what are the main features of Vedic society. So, try to mention the later Vedic society instead of early Vedic society, because it ended on with the later Vedic society, isn't it? Similarly, later Vedic religion. So we have the worship of the Trimurtis. Even now, worship of Trimurtis is there. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, right? Sacrifices are performed, rituals are performed, homes are performed. So all these things are there even in the Indian society even now, right? Yeah, you can make a tabular format. Mix it with the points and paragraphs. Your introduction should be about 3 to 4 lines. Introduction in 3 to 4 lines, conclusion in about 3 to 4 lines, and the body depending upon the wording of the question. Right. So this is how we will end this topic. Let us come to the next chapter. I have another 10-15 minutes to go. So pre-Maurya period, 6th century BC, Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha. So let's talk about this chapter. Pre-Maurya period, 6th century BC. Pre-Maurya period. So I'll give you the gist of this topic. Understand this. 6th century BC to 3rd century BC. Pre-Maurya period. Now, the pre-Maurya period is also called the age of second urbanization. Age of second urbanization. It is called the pre-Maurya period. It is also called the age of the Buddha. Age of the Buddha. It's also called the age of the Buddha. Why is it called age of second urbanization? Because for the second time in the history of India, we have cities coming into existence. And also we have this period known as the age of Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapadas. Shodasha. Shodasha Mahajanapadas. Shodasha Mahajanapadas. Shodasha means 16. Shodasha means 16 and Maha means large. Maha means large. Janapada is a territorial state. Territorial state or territorial kingdom. So Shodasha Mahajanapada. So this period is also called age of second urbanization, pre-Maurya period, age of the Buddha, Shodasha Mahajanapadas. Now the why is it called age of second urbanization? First urbanization is what? Harappan civilization. For the first time in the history of India, we have cities coming into existence during the Harappan period. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Kalibangan, Dholavira, Rakhighari, etc. We have seen that. Now, after the decline of the Harappan civilization, for a period of 1,000 years, we did not have cities. We did not have cities. So, for the second time in our history, we have cities coming into existence during the 6th century BC. That's why it is called the age of second urbanization. And there were 16 large kingdoms during this period. And the capitals of the kingdom, understand this, the capitals of these kingdoms became the principal cities of this period. The capitals of these kingdoms became the principal cities, main cities of this period. So what are the cities we can mention? For example, Rajagriha, Pataliputra, Kaushambi, the Ayodhya, Ahichatra, um, Shravasti, etc. So the capitals of the Mahajanapadas became the principal cities of this period. Right now, um, what happened during this period? You need to understand the highlights of this period. So tomorrow I'll talk about the highlights of this period. But then please understand there were 16 states or huge kingdoms. Out of these 16 states, 11 were monarchies. 11 were ruled by monarchies, and the rest 5 were republics. So in this chapter, we'll be looking at the important monarchies like Magadha, Malla, Vatsa, Chedi, Suktimati, etc. So we look at the 11 monarchies, and among these 16 and 5 republics. What is a republic? Where the king was elected. So it was a small kingdom. There was a parliament in these republics that was called Santagara. Okay, and these members of the Santagara assisted the king in running the affairs of that kingdom in a republic. So in a republic, the king was elected, whereas in a monarchy, the king was a king in all respects. Right? Out of these 16 states, one state becomes very, very powerful. That is Magadha. Magadha. So this Magadha kingdom encompassed the present regions of Bihar and parts of Bengal. So it was a huge kingdom, and it encompassed the present regions of Bihar and Bengal. So whoever ruled from Magadha was considered to be the most powerful ruler of North and Central India. So you need to understand, out of these 16 states, what made Magadha stand out? What were the reasons as to why Magadha becomes the most powerful kingdom? Right? So we look at the causes for the rise of Magadha, and then what are the highlights of this period? You see, what are the highlights of this period? And of course, we will be dealing with Persian and Greek invasion of India. Persian and Greek invasions on India. So in 516 BC, we have a Persian king called Darius who conquers a few parts of India: Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, and Sindh. These 3 areas are in Pakistan now. So Darius the first, the king of Persia or Iran, conquers Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, and Sindh. And the Iranians or the Persians ruled over this area for more than 200 years. Was there an impact on our history and culture? If so, what? We'll be discussing that. And Greek invasion, 326 BC, we have Alexander the Great, who came all the way from Macedonia in Greece, and he came up to the borders of India, conquering everything on his way. So he established a huge empire spanning 20,000 kilometers. From Macedonia in Greece to the borders of India, he had established an empire which was an area of 20,000 kilometers. And Alexander died very young at the age of 33 years. But please understand, he was a great general on the battlefield. Wherever he went, he brought victory, but he also brought death, destruction, and rapine. So uh, he came up to the borders of India and went back. He never reached Macedonia. He died on the way at a place called Babylonia under controversial circumstances. Now, whether Alexander's invasion had an impact on our history and culture, if so, what? So this is what we're going to discuss tomorrow. I've run out of time, almost run out of time. This is called pre-Maurya period. So we look at the important kingdoms during this period. And we'll be focusing on Magadha, the early dynasties which ruled Magadha, like Haryanka dynasty, who are the important kings of the Haryanka dynasty, like Bimbisar, followed by Ajatashatru, then Udayin. Then we have the Shishunaga dynasty, which succeeded the Haryanka dynasty, who are the important kings of the Shishunaga dynasty. Then we have the Nandas, who ruled from Magadha also. So these are the early dynasties which ruled Magadha, the Haryanka dynasty. Then we have the Shishunaga dynasty, then the Nanda dynasty. So these are the early dynasties which ruled Magadha, and then after Nandas came the Mauryas. So Mauryas is a separate chapter which we'll be discussing after I finish the pre-Maurya period tomorrow. So in the first half of tomorrow's class, I'll be dealing with pre-Maurya period, and I'll hope to finish that. And in the second half, we will start with Mauryan period, Mauryan chapter. Okay. So this is the plan for tomorrow. So people who have missed for whatever reasons the early part of this lecture, you please go back and look at the videos, the pre-recorded recorded version of this class. And if any doubts, please ask me tomorrow. I'll hope to clarify them. So you have a good day, and we'll meet tomorrow. Any questions? Any doubts? Yeah, Shams, Hastinapur, Kaushambi, they began to emerge towards the end of the later Vedic period. These are early cities. Okay, but then in the 6th century BC, in the pre-Maurya period, on a full-fledged state, on a full-fledged scale, we have the birth of kingdoms and cities flourishing. That's why it's called age of second urbanization. So what are the highlights of this period? We'll talk about it. The development of ring wells, cities came to be founded far away from river valleys. The Harappan civilization was a river valley based civilization. But in the 6th century BC, we have cities not necessarily founded on the banks of rivers. We also have cities founded far away from river valleys. So how did it happen? And other aspects, other highlights of this period. We'll talk about it. Yeah, thank you, Surya. So wherever I can tell you stories, I will tell you definitely to keep you entertained and alert. That is my way of teaching. Every teacher has his own way of teaching. I have my own style. Some people might not like it. Some people might like it. But then I will try to reach via media where I can satisfy the maximum number of students. Right. Seventh and eighth type of marriage. Seventh and eighth type of marriage. You see, you have Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya, Gandharva. Gandharva is love marriage. Okay. Swayamvara was a special type of love marriage. Rakshasa is marriage by capture with the girl willing. Okay. Asura marriage is marriage by purchase, meant for the Vaishyas. So that is, you have, let us say, there's a very rich boy. Okay. There's a very rich boy, but he's very, very ugly looking. Okay. And no good looking girl from a rich family is ready to marry him. So, but he has the money, and he can marry an ugly girl, maybe coming from a poor family, right? So he can, because he has the money, the girl has no money, so she will marry him. Or there's a very ugly looking girl, no boy wants to marry her, but she's very, very super rich. So for the money's sake, a boy might marry her. So literally she's purchasing the boy. That's called Asura marriage. And Paisacha marriage is meant for the Shudras. Unfair, abduction, seduction, by cheating, you marry. That's meant for the Shudras, I believe. That's how the rules were made, written by the later Vedic scholars, right? Yeah, Roshan. Yeah, thank you for that. So we'll meet tomorrow. Have a good day, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time. So it gets interesting, pre-Maurya period, Maurya, post-Maurya, Gupta. We'll talk about it. There's still a long way to go for finishing ancient India. So you take care. Have a good day. Yeah, thank you. Keep giving me your comments, positive, negative. I'll try to minimize my negative aspects of teaching. I'll try my best. Thank you very much. Good day.